Chapter 1821. The stairs were already so difficult to climb. If he had just spent a lot of effort to deal with Shangguan Shinjua, he would not have been able to do so. Not only would he not have enough time, but he would also not be able to enter the illusory demon mirage tower. Ruashi, hold on for a little longer. Su-yi raised his eyebrows, and a bright light flashed in his eyes. Su-yi swallowed half of the spirit liquid in one gulp and threw the other half to Lu Ruashi. Looking at the faint smile on Lu Ruashi's pale face, Su-yi could not help but feel warmth in his heart. Come. I'll carry you. Su-yi took a deep breath and carried Lu Ruashi on his back, without any explanation. Lu Ruashi smiled bitterly as she lay on Su-yi's back. You said you would carry me to the sacred mountain. How long has it been, and you're carrying me again? Am I too useless? Lu Ruashi smiled bitterly as she lay on Su-yi's back. You accompany me in danger, and I'll carry you through mountains and rivers. Su-yi smiled. In just a few days, the two childhood sweethearts who loved and hated each other had already established an unbreakable foundation. Lu Ruashi slowly swallowed the spirit liquid that Su-yi gave her. The warmth still flowed in her heart, and she gradually closed her eyes. She leaned on Su-yi's broad shoulders. At this moment, Lu Ruashi seemed to have gotten used to Su-yi's way of doing things. The cries in their ears continued, and the blurry scenes on both sides flashed past like lightning. Then, they heard a creaking sound. A bleak and heavy feeling of desolation assaulted them. Su-yi stood on the stairs of the illusory demon mirage tower and looked at the figure flying behind him. When I find the secret inside, I'll definitely kill you. Su-yi gritted his teeth. Immediately, the two of them stepped into the illusory demon mirage tower. Su-yi could see a wide platform on the first floor through the flickering lights. There were spiral stairs on both sides that led to the top. The stairs on both sides led to rooms with similar decorations. When he looked up, he could feel a terrifying aura spreading out from both sides. Su-yi pondered for a moment before following Lu Ruashi to the staircase on the right. Su-yi, hand over the treasure chest. Su-yi frowned when he saw the white figure getting closer and closer. The air around him shattered like a mirror. Let's go in first. Su-yi's eyelids twitched. The yuan qi in his hands suddenly moved forward, and the stone door on the right side of the room moved in response to the sound. In an instant, the yellow light shattered inch by inch, blasting Su-yi and Lu Ruashi apart. Just as the yellow light completely shattered the stone door, Su-yi's eyes lit up. He had arrived at an even more spacious stone house. With a muffled sound, the stone door behind him closed. The same structure, the same lifeless atmosphere, there was not the slightest change. It was desolate, gloomy, and gloomy. The only difference was that there was a black mountain peak in the middle of the platform on both sides of the building. It seemed like a demonic beast was snoring. Its huge body made it impossible for the two of them to see its full appearance. Su-yi could tell that it was a demonic beast as huge as a mountain by using his soul force. Using his soul force, Su-yi could sense that this demonic beast had an extremely terrifying cultivation base. He was actually unable to sense the demonic beast's cultivation base. Be careful. This is a demonized demonic beast, the iron soulfish said in a low voice. Upon closer inspection, this demonic beast's cultivation base should be at the peak of the demonic emperor realm. The demonic beast was crawling on the ground with its 4 paws. Its huge eyelids were as tall as a person, and the 2 steel-like wings on its back were constantly flapping as if fanning itself. Swallowing a mouthful of saliva, Su-yi gently pushed Lu Ruashi behind him and approached the demonic beast with gentle step. A faintly discernible aura emanated from the demonic beast's body. Immediately, Su-yi felt an extremely oppressive feeling. Just the thought of a demonized demonic ancestor realm expert made his hair stand on end. What a terrifying aura! If we fight, I'm afraid I'll either die or be crippled. Su-yi's eyes were filled with dread as he maintained his greatest vigilance. Su-yi, come out, Immediately, a crazy roar of origin chi came from the other side of the stone room. His heart thumping, Su-yi cursed inwardly. Shangguan Shenhua had done a good deed once again. Just as Su-yi had expected, the demonic beast suddenly opened its eyes and glared at him with its ferocious amber eyes. Its pitch-black body twisted rapidly. In front of this unknown giant beast, Su-yi was like a mosquito. Suddenly, a hoarse roar was heard. A violent gust of wind reverberated in the huge stone room. Su-yi looked at the demonic beast that stood up. Because it was too huge, it could only bend its body. Seeing this, Su-yi's figure quickly retreated. A giant palm slapped from the side, stirring up the space in the stone room. Oh no! When a demonic emperor realm demonized demonic beast was enraged, it was no laughing matter. Feeling the boundless aura and terrifying roar, the giant claw grabbed at Su-yi. Suddenly, Su-yi could feel an irresistible aura. The aura was so powerful that it made his soul tremble. Immediately, Su-yi circulated the Origin Supreme technique with both hands and held the starry soul in his hands. The strength of the 5th-level Origin Emperor realm didn't stop. Looking at such a huge demonized demonic beast, Su-yi immediately shouted and used both the heavenly demonic ancient scripture and the Origin Supreme technique. Su-yi stepped into the air and focused his gaze. The overwhelming saber radiance rushed through the space crack. Chi. In front of the demonic aura, the vitality was quickly dissolved like tofu. The damage was almost negligible to a peak demonic emperor. Seeing the fierce battle between Su-yi and the demonic beast, Lu Ruashi shouted from behind. Su-yi's eyes were red as he roared. "Don't come over! Run!" Su-yi immediately stepped out. Seeing that his martial technique was useless, he directly used the starry soul to meet the attack. A muffled rumble was heard. When Su-yi came to his senses, he realized that the demonized demonic beast also had spiritual intelligence. The giant claw from the right was just a feint, and the giant claw from the left was the killer move. Puff! There was a sonic boom. In the violent vibration, Su-yi was tightly wrapped in the giant claw of the demonized demonic beast. Dust flew up into the sky. In an instant, the space became incomparably deep, as if it could devour the soul. Su-yi! Lu Ruashi burst into tears and instantly rushed forward. The saber radiance of the Saint Monarch Chi cut through the space and slashed at the giant claw with a terrifying force. Under the fierce impact, the entire space trembled slightly. Lu Ruashi, who was sent flying by the recoil, could only watch helplessly as her attack only left a shallow mark on the giant claw. In the next moment, the impact caused the entire space to explode. Lu Ruashi, who was struggling to resist the sweet taste in her chest, suddenly narrowed her eyes. Chapter 1822. Roar! The demonic beast's huge claws rubbed against each other in the air like a cage, as if it wanted to crush Su-yi into powder. Creak! Black light shone on it as the huge claws rubbed against each other, making a bone-chilling sound. Bastard, let go! Let go! Shock and panic flashed in Lu Ruashi's eyes at the same time. Her twin blades were thrown out like boomerangs. Then, she was quickly brought back. It grabbed the flying blades and pulled back with its palm, causing Lu Ruashi to groan in pain. In such a mystic realm, Lu Ruashi wasn't sure if she could be successfully expelled after being killed by the demonic beast. Lu Ruashi's rosy little face was completely pale. She anxiously attacked the huge palm of the demonic fiend beast. Ding! Another crisp sound rang out, and the twin blades returned to Lu Ruashi's hands once again. Lu Ruashi's hands were slightly numb from the impact. She staggered back with despair and panic in her eyes. No. My cultivation is far from enough. Even the Saint Monarch Chi can't blast this black demonic beast away. Lu Ruashi clenched her silver teeth. Her beautiful face was slightly distorted, revealing a terrified expression. Boom! The demonic beast's huge body was like a mountain. It stood up and sat down, twisting in pain. Its half-hunched body set off a terrifying storm. In the violent wind, the space in front of it was shattered into countless fragments and swept in all directions. The golden vortex under Lu Ruashi's feet surged rapidly. Her hands shot out golden ribbons and wrapped around the stone pillar, stabilizing it. The demonic beast's pupils shrank. It seemed to be in extreme pain. Its closed iron claws expanded and contracted, looking very strange. The strange scene in front of her, coupled with the extremely terrifying aura, made Lu Ruashi nervous. She whispered in surprise, "Is Su-Yi still alive?" Lu Ruashi immediately retreated. Her eyes were filled with vigor as she nervously watched the demonic beast's transformation. Lu Ruashi knew that her strength wouldn't be of much use at this moment. Su-Yi must be in a fierce battle with the black demonic beast. That little scoundrel from the marketplace, the man who had a shameful engagement with her, had already matured to the point where he had repeatedly protected her and brought her through the thorn swamp without batting an eyelid. All of this happened very suddenly. Lu Ruashi's eyes flickered and her red lips trembled slightly. Su-Yi. Lu Ruashi did not want to be a burden to Su-Yi. She would never allow it, even if it was just a little bit. Su-Yi, who was in the giant claw, just happened to be sandwiched between the two hands at this time, and the heavenly star frightening soul in his hand quickly twisted. The saber radiance was like a flowing star, incomparably swift and fierce. Streaks of purple light violently slashed within the narrow space. Bang! Su-Yi's ears buzzed and his soul trembled. It was as if a golden spear had collided with steel. Su-Yi shook his somewhat groggy head with all his might as the art of heavenly piloting and the heavenly Fey ancient sutra charged towards the heaven-origin demon soul. In an instant, the radiance of the scarlet sun filled the air. His heart was illuminated, and his spirit became clear once again. Exhaling a long breath, his bright eyes shone like stars within the giant claw that was as dark as night. This demon emperor realm demonic beast has thick skin. Coupled with the demonization, it's simply too strong. As the giant claw continued to grind, Su-Yi could hear a sandpaper-like sound entering his ears. He was immediately anxious. What exactly is this black demonic beast? Su-Yi was greatly puzzled. The demonized aura will cover most of its original appearance. From what I can sense, it's not a physical body. Perhaps it's just a remnant soul. The soul puppet beast's expression was solemn. A remnant soul? Su-Yi's eyes were slightly shocked. This demonized demonic beast already had such terrifying power. Any martial technique that hit it seemed to be useless. If it was a physical body, it was definitely not something that he could deal with. How strong was the demon race in the past? Even such a terrifying force was wiped out. Su-Yi's heart sank. Huin Yen looked around. Since he couldn't get out, he should calm down and think about how to get out. "Oh woo! How's it going on your side?" Su-Yi's soul spread out and his ears perked up. Within the giant claw, he seemed to be able to hear what the demonized demonic beast was asking through the beast language. Suddenly, an ethereal roar of a beast came from afar. "Old woman, this little guy is a bit tricky. It'll take a while. Don't let them go up." Su-Yi was shocked. Listening carefully, it turned out that there was a demonized demonic beast on both sides of the illusionary demonic mirage. What was more amazing was that the two of them were joined together. Shangguan Shinjua must have encountered that kind of male demonic beast. "That's right. It's the ancient yin-yang iron lizards," the soul puppet beast whispered. Looking at the surrounding black space, although he couldn't see clearly, Su-Yi could guess that the two iron lizards must have escaped here with their remnant souls after losing their lives. They hoped to absorb the demonic aura here and take the opportunity to be reborn. To be able to have such a magical effect, the illusionary demonic mirage hid a huge secret. Suddenly, Su-Yi shouted and quickly activated the Origin Supreme technique. His soul spread out and filled the entire narrow space in an instant. Vaguely, Sui found that there was a pale yellow light in the demonic beast's palm. Sui raised his eyebrows and circulated the primordial chi around his body. The aura was majestic to the extreme. A monstrous aura spread out from Sui's body. The ancient aura seemed to cross the heavens and earth. Suddenly, a tornado-like aura shot out from the narrow space of the giant claw. A huge phantom of the phoenix divine bird appeared behind him. A clear bird cry broke through the clouds and stones and tore the sky apart. Go! In the giant claw of the remnant soul, the blazing fire attribute divine power instantly covered the terrifying aura around it. With a domineering impact that could swallow everything, it shot out. The narrow space suddenly trembled. The red and black energy collided. Then, the entire space seemed to have solidified. Sui's body was also nailed to the ground, unable to break free. In the next second, with the giant claw as the center, a monstrous suction force spread out like a tornado. A violent impact hit the light. The violent impact caused the demon god battlesuit in front of Sui to crack rapidly. Seizing the opportunity, Sui dodged a few times in the air and rushed out of the space, leaving behind an afterimage. After escaping, Sui immediately felt a sense of relief. Under the effect of the devouring power, the ancient yin-yang iron lizard behind him let out an extremely terrifying roar. Its huge body expanded rapidly. It twisted left and right in the air and swayed up and down. It violently resisted the aura that was spreading in all directions. The entire space was filled with sand and stones. The ground shook and the mountains shook. Sui, who flew out, felt his heart throbbing. He quickly flew in Lu Ruashi's direction and protected her under his body. Chapter 1823. Afterward, he turned around and saw the demonic beast struggling violently as if it was being peeled out of a cocoon. Horrifying black demonic aura kept leaking out, and the world trembled. He covered Lu Ruashi's ears while violent sonic booms kept coming from his side. Bang bang bang! The violent shock waves kept rushing at Sui's demon god armor and diamond body. In the end, the clothes on his back were destroyed, leaving only the shiny diamond body. Lu Ruashi, who was lying on the ground, had her eyes full of fluctuations. Her exquisite little nose moved slightly, and her lips were tightly pursed. Under such shocking movements, the space finally quieted down after an unknown period of time. The murderous aura finally disappeared. Sui supported himself on the ground and helped Lu Ruashi up. He looked at the place where the murderous aura was spreading and saw a crystal bead on the ground that was glowing with a strange black light. Sui leaned forward to take a look. The waterfall in his hand burst out, and the bead immediately fell into his hand. It was warm and cool, and the faint black demonic aura that kept flowing on it gave off a horrifying feeling. After staring at it for a long time, even Sui felt dizzy and had a terrifying feeling of falling into endless darkness. Is this also a demonic core? Sui tried to channel a wisp of vitality into it, but he was instantly hit by the power in it. A huge impact shook Sui's hand away, and he felt a palpitating sense of desolation for no reason. Sui's words were approved by the Iron Soul Taper, and it immediately looked at the demonized demonic core in its hand carefully. An extremely majestic energy condensed in the air, making people tremble. If this demonized peak demon sovereign's demonic core was refined, it would definitely not be much worse than a demon grandmaster's demonic core. The first level is already like this. What else will there be on the next level? Sui held the demonized demonic core tightly in his hand and put it back into his interspatial bag. He was very satisfied. Looking at the second step with anticipation, Sui decided to go up from the right. "Old woman, how are you?" A shocking roar came from the stone house on the left, making the two of them tremble at the same time. Demonic aura soared into the sky, and the ferocious shock waves instantly made the entire bottom level of the elusive mirage tremble. Inside the space, the air rippled layer by layer. Then, the sound of a tiger's roar and a demonic beast colliding could be heard again. Despicable humans! You killed my wife, I want all of you to die with her. The male ancient lizard roared. The fight is still very intense. Sui raised his eyebrows, and a smile appeared on his face. After which, the two of them quickly headed to the second floor. The demonic chi and soul energy that soared into the sky became much smaller as the second stone room opened. Looking at the equally dark but empty room, Sui did not dare to let down his guard. Sui scratched his head and said, "Could it be that only the first floor of the Mirage has demonized demonic beasts?" At this moment, there was a high platform in the middle of the platform. On top of it was a box that looked exactly like Suyi's mysterious treasure chest. The two of them looked at each other and checked the box with their soul energy. After confirming that there was no problem, Sui opened the box. Rays of light rushed into the box, and Sui and Lu Ruashi's eyes stung. After the rays of light disappeared, they saw a demonic ancestor realm demonic beast core. The demonic beast core's aura was vigorous, as if it had been placed there for many years. However, the demonic beast aura inside was still fierce. It was as if the soul of a living beast had rushed out, and Suyi's heart couldn't help but tremble. Another demonic ancestor realm demonic beast core, Sui exclaimed. His robe fluttered, and he quickly put away the demonic beast core. Sui stared blankly at the demonic beast core in his hand. An idea came to him, and he went to the stone room on the left with Lu Ruashi. Similarly, he found a demonic ancestor realm demonic beast core on the high platform in the middle. As expected, Sui nodded his head. Following that, Sui became bolder. Once again, he proved that the two demonic beasts at the bottom level had snuck in and weren't demonic beasts that originally existed in the illusory demonic mirage. Looking at the dazzling demonic beast cores in his hand, just these demonic ancestor realm demonic beast cores would be enough for their remnant souls to be reborn. However, it was a pity that when it regained its intelligence, it ran into him. "Ruashi, let's start looting. You take the left and I'll take the right." Sui smiled. Lu Ruashi was also very excited. She raised her head and looked at the small building that had 10 floors. The two of them quickly started looting. The higher they went, the less demonic chi there was. However, it was filled with an immense sense of desolation. Sui started looting from the right side. As he listened to the sound of attacks getting softer and softer, his heart was filled with joy. Emperor-grade cultivation technique, Earth-grade high-tier medicinal pills, armor treasures, saint artifacts that haven't gained sentience, primal stone boxes. Sui kept collecting the treasures on the right side of the building, counting his fingers as he put them all into his interspatial bag. The higher he went, the closer the pressure was to the heaven and earth energy. The vast pressure that seemed to have been accumulated for tens of thousands of years caused Suyi's heart and soul to tremble. The soul energy in his sea of consciousness suddenly burst out. The ball of light that was filled with resplendent light was sparkling as if it had found its own kind. When they reached the 5th floor, Sui was a little worried and went to the stone house on the left. He saw Lu Ruashi lying on the high platform in the center, panting heavily. Although there was a difference of 4 stages between their cultivation bases, Sui didn't feel strained at all. Of course, Sui knew that it wasn't because of the difference in cultivation bases. It was because he had the mysterious ball of light and the Iron Soul Taper's demonic chi protecting him. "Ruashi, are you alright?" Sui frowned and patted Lu Ruashi's shoulder with concern. Lu Ruashi panted heavily and gently handed a package to Sui. "Sui, this is the item on the 5th floor on the left. Take it first." Sui shook his head and signaled Lu Ruashi not to speak first. He then gently channeled the Origin Supreme technique into Lu Ruashi's meridians. As soon as the vast energy entered her body, Lu Ruashi's complexion gradually improved. Her slightly rosy cheeks added a touch of charm and tenderness. Lu Ruashi took a deep breath and stuffed the interspatial bag into Su Yi's hands. Su Yi, quickly go up. Shangguan Shenjua has the protection of the divine tiger sex secret treasure. It won't be difficult for him to escape from the demonic beast. Su Yi muttered to himself and smiled. Seeing Lu Ruashi's concern for him, his heart suddenly felt warm. Lu Ruashi, who had been incompatible since they were young, always had a special place in his heart. After that, Su Yi once again advanced to the 5th floor and above. As if he was sweeping through everything, he took all the treasures into his arms. When he was about to enter the 10th floor, Su Yi had already held his breath. All the treasures from before were priceless. They were the only treasures in the world. Up until now, Su Yi already had an armor artifact, 2 high-grade earth-grade medicinal pellets, a pair of unspiritualized twin hooks, 4 primeval stone boxes, and 10 demon ancestor beast cores. Chapter 1824. In addition to the demon core of the python and the demonized iron lizard, his harvest this time could be said to be a bountiful harvest. Su Yi kept the items with a satisfied expression on his face. Even if there's nothing left on the 10th floor, this is still a huge amount of wealth. Su Yi thought about refining all the demon cores in the demon ancestor realm. His heart was filled with anticipation like a surging river. At this time, his curiosity was already in his throat. Su Yi calmed his excitement and swallowed slightly. Pushing away the ripples in front of him, the Supreme Origin technique was once again activated. The light in his eyes was like the twinkling stars. Let's go in and take a look, Su Yi whispered in his heart. Quang dang! The heavy stone door was pushed open. It was like opening the door of time. Within the light, there were countless mysterious lights pulsing. An ancient aura pierced through the heavens and the earth, and a miraculous radiance struck Su Yi's slightly bulging chest. Then, it seeped into his skin. The light gradually turned into dancing starlight and surrounded Su Yi's body. Looking at the countless specks of light lingering around Su Yi's body, the godly profound spiritual veins that he had obtained also began to produce starlight. As if it had a reaction, the entrance was like a bright starlight, pulsing with a weak light. It blinked and disappeared, as if it was from the Milky Way. The demonic chi came to an abrupt stop here. Looking at the bright starlight above his head and the light in his body, it shone together. Su Yi felt a calmness that he had never felt before. His eyes flashed and he gradually walked towards the middle of the platform. Su Yi scanned his surroundings. The only difference was that there was nothing on the high platform. Su Yi's eyes flashed with electricity. He quickly took out the mysterious treasure chest. The strange patterns on the treasure chest were already dazzling. The moment he took it out, the entire stone house was lit up. Boom! Holding his breath, Su Yi did not dare to blink. He carefully placed the treasure chest in the groove on the platform. Chi-la! Suddenly, there was the sound of a spring opening from within the treasure chest. A clear creaking sound rang out, and Su Yi unconsciously clenched his fists. A heavy voice came from the treasure chest, and a sharp laughter instantly filled Su Yi's ears. Finally, a descendant has brought back the treasure chest. Ah! Su Yi was shocked. He carefully looked at the box. It turned out that the sound was made by the box. He couldn't help but click his tongue in wonder. What are you looking at? You're a disciple of the demon-subduing sect, right? Quickly kneel down and greet your ancestor. The commanding tone made Su Yi very unhappy. He frowned slightly, and a bright light filled his eyes. The energy that seemed to be one with the energy of the world turned into a waterfall and charged at the treasure chest. Immediately, the light within the treasure chest overflowed, and an extremely miserable cry erupted. Stop! You're not from the demon-subduing sect. Who are you? The voice in the treasure chest instantly became much quieter, as if it was slightly fearful. Su Yi's loose robes fluttered, and he placed the starry soul on the treasure chest. Once again, it attracted a weak voice. "Take it away. Don't put the knife on me." Su-yi smiled lightly. So the remnant spirit on the treasure chest also had times when it was afraid. "Looks like you're an expert from the demon-subduing sect?" Su-yi removed the starry soul. The treasure chest's light surged again, and as if it had a spirit, the light scattered, and it sighed, "Ai. I've waited for so many years. Who would have thought that an outsider would come?" After that, the treasure chest told Su-yi about itself. It was the former sect leader of the demon-subduing sect. When it was alive, it liked to collect Yao cores and all kinds of rare treasures. This demonic mirage was also something it had found by chance. After that, it became a place for it to store its treasures. The treasure chest was specially made by the demon-subduing sect, and only the top experts of the demon-subduing sect could open it. Su-yi nodded and thought to himself, no wonder Big Brother couldn't open it even after using so many methods. Expert? Just what kind of secret does this elusive mirage hold? Su-yi frowned, trying to get information out of the expert from the demon-subduing sect. The light on the treasure chest seemed to be sizing up Su-yi, and the light enveloped Su-yi's body. "Brat, you've already taken so many of my treasures, and you're not even going to let go of this last one?" Su-yi's lips curled into a sly smile and he chuckled, "Greed has always been my strong suit. Besides, I'll snatch as many treasures as I can from your demon-subduing sect." The treasure chest started to sway, and the light on the patterns started to twist. It seemed to be angry and it roared, "You! Cram!" Looking at the treasure chest, Su-yi's face turned ashen. He pulled out the starry soul again and shouted, "You really think I'm flattering you? It's just a remnant spirit. What's the value of it?" Just as he finished speaking, Su-yi raised the starry soul above his head and was about to split the treasure chest open. The expert from the demon-subduing sect shouted, "Wait, wait. He probably has the same idea as the ancient iron lizard. He wants to attach himself to the treasure chest and borrow the power of the demon mirage to be reborn." The iron soulfish said softly. Immediately, Su-yi's eyes flashed, and his nose twitched. He spoke without any room for negotiation. "If you don't speak, I don't want the things inside. I'll destroy your soul and see how you're going to be reborn." This sentence seemed to have struck the weak spot of the demon-subduing sect's expert. After a long while, he sighed. "Fine. I'm just a remnant spirit anyway. I won't interfere with the matters of the demon-subduing sect anymore." The light flickered again, and a voice that was even more ancient than before rang out. "Brat, do you really want to know?" Seeing that the expert from the demon-subduing sect was still grumbling, Su-yi knocked on the treasure chest with the starry soul. On the platform, the treasure chest's spring had already been released. After the aura leaked out, it was like an ordinary treasure chest, easy to open. "I'll speak." The expert made a prompt decision. The expert from the demon-subduing sect was clearly worried that Su-yi would destroy the treasure chest. He hurriedly said, "This is a space-time transfer point. A space-time tunnel." "Speak clearly. What space-time tunnel?" Su-yi waved the starry soul impatiently. Space-time tunnels were not rare in the Sky Barbarian continent. Many experts, including those from the Utian Palace, would build space-time tunnels between different continents for the convenience of transportation. When he went to the Utian Palace, Su-yi had used the space-time transfer point at the Xinjian Gate. "Brat, can't you read?" Space-time transfer point. It's a magical tunnel that will allow you to leave the Sky Barbarian continent and go to another plane. The expert from the demon-subduing sect was also anxious. 1. Both Su-yi and the soul puppet beast were shaken to the core, their souls trembling. The world outside the Sky Barbarian continent? The 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 ocean were already within Su-yi's knowledge. As for the vast universe outside the Sky Barbarian continent, Su-yi had never even thought about it. Chapter 1825. What Su-yi could confirm was that the phoenix, golden dragon, great roc, and even the soul puppet beast were all extraterrestrials. What kind of magical world was it outside the Tianyan continent? That was where the primordial calamity had truly occurred. Su-yi gulped at the thought of this and his palms began to sweat. How can I believe you? Su-yi narrowed his eyes and recovered from his shock. He looked at the demon-subduing sect expert, who was left with only a remnant of his soul. I didn't believe you at first, until I brought that treasure back to the illusionary mirage. The expert from the demon-subduing sect recalled. That day, he saw a boundless woman in violet robes descending from the skies. How can you be sure that the woman wasn't from the Tianyan continent? Su-yi asked in a low voice. Light surged and the demon-subduing sect expert shook his head. His voice sounded again. Impossible. The illusionary demon cave isn't a secret realm with a fixed time. As long as you know how to use the illusionary demon-subduing sect, you can come here at any time. I learned the secret techniques of the demon-subduing sect and reached the peak of Sky Origin Master. Only then did I peek into space and found the illusionary demon mirage. The demon-subduing sect expert continued to recall and his voice paused. That woman's cultivation was unfathomable and her aura was completely different from that of the Tianyan continent. I hid in the illusionary demon cave and watched as she floated out. Su-yi's heart tightened. Extraterrestrials? What happened after that? After she left, I studied the illusionary demon cave's space rules again and realized that there was really a huge tunnel space inside. I couldn't see where it connected and didn't dare to look. If I looked at it for a second longer, my soul would scatter. After saying this, the demon-subduing sect expert became visibly saddened and his teeth gradually clenched. He told Su-yi that the illusionary demon mirage was very strange. It was easy to enter from the outside but extremely difficult to enter from the inside. Perhaps my study of the illusionary demon cave had caused the space to become chaotic. One day, that woman returned with a green-robed woman. She was even more beautiful. My existence was finally discovered by them. The demon-subduing sect expert seemed to be still immersed in the horror of that time. Thinking back to that time, the woman had only flicked her finger slightly, and he had felt the heaviness of heaven and earth collapsing. At that moment, I knew I was going to die. He simply extracted a trace of his soul and attached it to the treasure chest, and threw it out of the great demon mountain range. Su-yi nodded. Being able to destroy a peak origin ancestor powerhouse with a flick of his finger was as easy as stepping on an ant. This kind of terrifying strength and shocking realm made Su-yi's hair stand on end. Old Tai, what do you think? Su-yi asked. The iron soulfish had never been so quiet before. I think what he said is basically true. This explains why there are demon caves in the Phantom Fiend Cave. Heavily patting his head, Su-yi nodded repeatedly, thinking to himself, the demon cave, the demon aura, and the strange space tunnel. Could this be a spatial tunnel built by the demon race when they came to the heavenly barbaric domain? This terrifying thought instantly made Su-yi's soul tremble, and he did not dare to continue thinking about it. The iron soulfish did not comment, and did not answer Su-yi's question. This was a sensitive and terrifying question, so Su-yi kept his mouth shut and did not discuss it further. The small heavenly barbaric domain seemed to be hiding more and more secrets. The inheritance of gods, the seclusion of the demon race, experts from outside the domain, and disputes among the aristocratic families. On the 10th level, only the faint sound of space ripples could be heard. The treasure chest continued to flicker, and the expert's voice became hoarse. So I am not satisfied. Little brother, I beg you, don't destroy the treasure chest. This sentence struck a chord in Su-yi's heart. It seemed that this expert had been a treasure chest for decades. It wasn't easy for him to bring her back. After all, he had taken her life's work. Sui didn't want to push things too far. You said that you met that strange woman when you brought the treasure back. What treasure? Sui refocused his attention on the treasure chest. There must be a shocking treasure inside, and it would be a pity if it was not used properly and was destroyed. The expert from the demon-subduing sect said in a low voice, "Once, our demon-subduing sect was ordered to hunt down a top expert. After the expert escaped, he left behind the White Water Dragon Temple. I wanted to take the White Water Dragon's demon pill, but I took out a snow-white jade ball." White Water Dragon. Expert? Duanmu Qingtian? A series of questions made Su Yi's heartstrings tighten, and a gentle voice in his mind vibrated at the same time. Su Yi remembered that Duanmu Qingtian had disappeared without a trace after asking Suruga to deliver the flowing image stone to the Yutian Palace. He did not expect that he was being hunted down. Immediately, Su Yi frowned. His eyes flashed and a terrifying aura burst out from his body. Behind him, a huge white water dragon god appeared. Its eyes were cold, and it stared at the treasure chest like a venomous snake. A strong wind blew, and the huge body was accompanied by the sound of wind and thunder. Its aura was torrential. White Water Dragon, who are you? Su Yi's lips curled into a smile and he shouted, "So it's you guys. Whose orders are you under? The Long family? Are you chasing after Duanmu Qingtian?" Facing the ferocious white water dragon, the expert's voice was weak. If not for the restriction of the treasure chest, he would have escaped long ago. I can't say. With a sobbing tone, the expert from the demon-subduing sect spoke in a hoarse voice. When he mentioned the Long family, the expert's voice trembled like a leaf in a storm. After that, no matter what Sui said, the expert from the demon-subduing sect didn't reply. He only said one sentence. "I'll give you everything inside. I don't want it anymore. If you don't let me live, I'll die if I tell you the secret." As soon as he finished speaking, the light from the treasure chest dimmed. Sui, who was covered in light, had a serious look on his face. "Is it the Long family?" Sui sighed in his heart. After so many years, the demon-subduing sect still felt like they were treading on thin ice. Sui sighed in his heart. He had already gotten a lot of information from the expert from the demon-subduing sect. Then, Sui chose to give up. He retracted his aura, and the wind around him calmed down. With both hands on the treasure chest, Suyi's eyes lit up. He shouted in his heart, "Open it and take a look!" Knowing that the things inside were related to the Duanmu Qingtian and the entire heavenly barbaric region, Sui became even more excited. Creak! As soon as the treasure chest opened, an ancient aura rushed into Suyi's nose. The white light around it was warm and gentle, making Sui feel like a jade in the field. He quickly scanned the interior of the treasure chest. There were a total of 4 things inside, a book and 3 bead-like things. One of the books was a martial technique. Picking it up, Sui read it in a low voice, "Demon-subduing illusionary tome, high-grade emperor-grade martial technique. After cultivating it, you can control demonic beasts at will and refine their cores for your own use." Chapter 1826. The former effect was of little value to Sui, but being able to quickly refine the monster core was like a tailor-made martial skill for him. His hand unconsciously stroked the 10 smooth demon ancestor monster cores, and Suyi's eyes suddenly curled up. Looking inside the treasure chest, there was also a monster core at the peak of the demon ancestor realm. Sui fondled the demon core lovingly, then put it into his own spatial pouch. The corner of his mouth curled up as he said, "I really have to thank this expert from the demon-subduing sect. These 2 items are a perfect match." Holding the demon pill in his arms, Sui instantly felt an extremely familiar feeling hugging him. It was completely different from the demonic monster core just now, which contained a hidden energy that pushed him away. The vast ancient monster energy was incomparably docile, without a trace of fierceness, and the white flood dragon god's voice flashed in his soul. My monster core. Sui, thank you for bringing it back. Unexpectedly, this was the white flood dragon god's monster core. Su-Yi's expression was solemn, and he nodded heavily. If he refined the monster core, it would be the same as returning it to the white flood dragon god. Looking to the right, there was also a pill. Su-Yi's soul was extremely sensitive, and he slowly covered the pill with his aura. His mouth was wide open, and he couldn't close it for a long time. Su-Yi said in shock, "Early heaven-grade pill?" The 9 Revolution God refining pill refined in the Heaven Riding Soul competition was only at the early Earth grade, but it already had such a miraculous effect. Placing the pill under his nose, Su-Yi immediately felt that the entire body of the heaven-grade pill was flowing with light. Its entire body was clear blue, and there was not much brightness in it. Casually probing the aura covering it, Su-Yi could tell that it contained an extremely terrifying pill energy. If he could completely refine it, Su-Yi couldn't imagine how his cultivation would soar by leaps and bounds. This trip to Huanma is really too rich. The corners of Su-Yi's mouth trembled slightly. He looked at the faint medicinal aura and felt satisfied. Right now, Su-Yi just wanted to go out and find a quiet place to cultivate. Turning his head to look at the last item, Su-Yi's pupils suddenly shrank slightly. The core on the far right was twice the size of the white Jiao God's monster core, and it exuded a desolate, ancient aura. What is this? Su-Yi was puzzled. Iron Soul? Similarly, he couldn't explain it. White Flood Dragon God. Are you still there? Su-Yi suddenly recalled that the expert from the demon-subduing sect had obtained this pearl from the White Flood Dragon God's stomach. Iron Soul? Shaking his head, he told Su-Yi that the White Jiao God had completely disappeared. Its remnant soul had been completely absorbed by the heavenly origin monster soul. The Duanmu Qingtian was known as a once-in-a-thousand-years genius of Commandant Palace, but in the end countless experts were secretly chasing after him. Hiss! In the blink of an eye, the white light in front of Su-Yi's eyes flashed again. Suddenly, Su-Yi saw a dazzling divine light in front of him, like a pavilion. Acutely perceiving the overall appearance of this pavilion, Su-Yi knew that the pavilion was located extremely far away, and might not even be in Yuzhou. It had some connection with the illusory demon mirage, but there was no connection at all. Su-Yi's heart and soul suddenly shook. Like a soul, he floated to the top of the pavilion with the domain pearl in his hand, like a cool breeze. He leisurely landed on the top of the pavilion. As the cool breeze blew, a powerful primitive force pushed Su-Yi outwards. Su-Yi, who was indistinct and without any substance, couldn't use his yuan qi at all. In a hurry, the domain pearl released a fierce aura. As if his feet had grown roots, Su-Yi frowned and looked at the mist rising in front of him, and the place shrouded in divine splendor. A white figure appeared. Parting the clouds, Su-Yi took a step forward. Suddenly, the whole world became extremely bleak, and the 9 heavens and earth were filled with a desolate aura. The incomparably dry air instantly made Su-Yi feel as if someone was choking his throat. He could only watch from afar, and couldn't take another step forward. The white figure just now stood on a cracked brown mountain rock in the distance. When he saw Su-Yi, he smiled, and there were fine wrinkles at the corners of his eyes. He was obviously an old man who had experienced the vicissitudes of life. From his sharp eyebrows and bright eyes, this old man was also a handsome and extraordinary peerless talent when he was young. Chapter 1827. Su-Yi's first reaction was Duanmu Qingtian. He opened his mouth but could not make a sound. Pointing at the old man, Su-Yi's eyes widened. The next moment, the old man in white turned into a stream of light and flew in Su-Yi's direction. Qi! Majestic soul energy filled the air, and turned into an extremely thin and long light that rushed into Su Yi's forehead. Su Yi immediately fell into a deep sleep. When he opened his eyes again, Su Yi was still standing in front of the treasure chest. Holding the warm domain pearl in his hand, he shook his groggy head slightly and felt nervous. After carefully checking his sea of consciousness, Su Yi could not help but feel a little strange. Looking into his body, his Dantian sea of qi was still full. The terrifyingly large vitality vortex kept spinning crazily. Su Yi felt a sense of abundance. However, that stream of light had clearly rushed into his body. The more Su Yi thought about it, the stranger he felt. He could not help but frown. "Kid, why are you in a daze?" Iron Soul whispered. After coming back to his senses, Su Yi put the domain pearl into his space bag and asked, "How long have I been in a daze?" "A few breaths. I thought you were possessed." Su Yi tilted his head and scratched his head. He had clearly spent a lot of time in the strange realm. How could it have only been a few breaths? Did I travel through time? Su Yi could not help but gasp as he organized all the treasures he had taken. When he flipped through the demon-subduing illusionary tome, it had turned into a mass of boundless information that rushed into his mind. After a casual check, Su Yi found that the demon-subduing illusionary tome had many wonderful uses. Among them, the Beast Soul Lightning and the Demon Core Lightning interested Su Yi very much. With the help of the Beast Soul and the Demon Core, the power of the explosion was far above the soul manipulation killing talisman. If it was a Demon Grandmaster's Demon Core, the explosion could quickly destroy dozens of cities. Good stuff. I'll go back and give it some advice. It also seems to be very easy to use. The corner of Su Yi's mouth curled up. This time, he had verified his suspicions. It could be said that he had met the Duanmu Qintian. At the very least, the Duanmu Qintian was still alive in this world. Whether it was in the form of a physical body or a soul, Su Yi was extremely curious about what had happened back then. Su Yi knew that there must be some huge conspiracy and plan behind this, and the Long family was the mastermind. The Long family will definitely accept it. Su Yi narrowed his eyes and thought about his promise to the Golden Dragon. Unconsciously, the dragon scale card in his arms emitted a faint light. Su Yi returned to the 5th floor and met up with Lu Ruashi. Looking at the illusory devil mirage, Su Yi still couldn't believe that this was the devil race's spatial tunnel. The Demon Slayer expert said that one can only enter after reaching a certain realm. However, my Origin Supreme technique allowed me to enter at the Origin Emperor realm. Su Yi couldn't help but propose a bold idea. In so many dangerous situations, Su Yi could rely on the Origin Supreme technique to turn danger into safety. Who could say that the mysterious ball of light wasn't an extraterrestrial object? As a person from Earth, he was an extraterrestrial object. Su Yi seemed to have a clear direction on how to solve the mystery of his body and return to Earth. All of this seems to belong to me in the end. Unknowingly, Su Yi was like a lone boat sailing in a vast and turbulent river. A trace of light was projected from the dark sky in the distance. While Su Yi was deep in thought, he felt a warm hand holding him. Lu Ruashi tilted her head and asked softly, "Su Yi, what's wrong?" Su Yi smiled and shook his head. He circulated the Origin Supreme technique, and a vortex formed under his feet. The two of them turned into flowing light and flashed behind the illusory devil mirage. "Let's go out. We don't have much time left." Lu Ruashi nodded obediently, but there was a trace of sadness in her eyes. "Let's go," Lu Ruashi said softly. Bang! A soul-stirring explosion suddenly spread out from the illusory devil mirage behind them. Dense killing intent and demonic aura seeped out from the door of the illusory devil mirage. Su Yi and Lu Ruashi turned at the same time when the explosion occurred. Lu Ruashi's delicate body floated in the distance like a falling leaf. Su Yi caught her by the waist. At the illusory devil mirage, a bloody, white-furred big tiger soared into the sky. Shangguan Shenjua's clothes were all torn into shreds. His entire body was covered in a torrential blood aura. His bloody appearance made people tremble for no reason. However, judging from his aura, he was even more ferocious than before. Shangguan Shenjua's exposed skin was connected to the white tiger armor. Tiger stripes spread out, and his entire face gradually turned into the appearance of a ferocious tiger. His wide forehead and ferocious eyes were filled with wildness and blood aura. Lu Ruoxi unconsciously leaned toward Su Yi. Be careful, he is using the secret technique of the Divine Tiger Sect. It is of a higher level than the vital energy formation. Su Yi probed with his mind-soul, and also sensed that Shangguan Shenjua's aura had reached an extremely high level. Shangguan Shenjua's aura was originally at the 6th level of the Origin Emperor realm, but it had actually surpassed the cultivation of Tyrannical Si Santong and Yuqi Chongfeng. 8th level of the Origin Emperor realm? Su Yi was secretly shocked. The number one person of a top-notch force was indeed not just for show. Just by using a secret technique, he could instantly raise his cultivation by 2 levels. Su Yi, you should be proud of yourself for putting me in such a difficult situation. As Shangguan Shenjua spoke, he held a long saber in his hand. It was also a saint artifact. Instantly, Su Yi's pupils contracted. In his eyes, Shangguan Shenjua turned into a black dot and shot towards him rapidly. So fast. Su Yi quickly deployed the demon god battle armor. A demonic radiance covered Su Yi's entire body as he quickly summoned the starry heaven shock soul. Boom! Under Lu Ruoxi's gaze, the two of them instantly started fighting in the void. A deep sonic boom resounded as the energy swept across the sky. Su Yi, I'm going to kill you. Hand over everything. The ferocious tiger shadow roared in the sky as the aura of his cultivation was fully released. In midair, a huge claw print tore through the void. The cold and ferocious blood aura froze the entire space. Su Yi instantly felt an extremely strenuous feeling. This 8th level of the Origin Emperor realm is really strong. The starry heaven shock soul and Shangguan Shenjua's saint artifacts constantly let out rumbling sounds as they clashed. Su Yi immediately clenched his teeth. With the saint artifact in his hand, Shangguan Shenjua's cultivation had increased by another level. Compared to the expert from the demon-subduing sect, it was like heaven and earth. Clang! Shangguan Shenjua sneered. Su Yi's strength had been completely exposed. A 5th level of the Origin Emperor realm strength would definitely be crushed by him. With a sinister sneer, Shangguan Shenjua seemed to have already seen Su Yi dying without a burial ground. His saber and claw rapidly slashed down, and an earth-shattering amount of origin chi rushed down. The moment they landed, Su Yi instantly disappeared in the unparalleled attack. The tiger-headed Shangguan Shenjua looked at the green-robed figure on the other side and trembled. Chapter 1828. What? Lu Ruoxi, who had been watching the battle nervously, heaved a sigh of relief and became excited. Lu Ruoxi's eyes lit up when she saw that Su Yi was able to escape from such a ferocious attack. I can't deny that you're very strong. However, you're still not qualified to kill me. Su Yi sneered. Su Yi's slightly numb hands trembled as his aura burst out. An ancient aura instantly erupted, and flames surrounded his body, mixed with a faint golden light. As his green robe danced, Su Yi's eyes were filled with dragon's might. This aura! Shangguan Shenjua clearly felt something as his body trembled slightly. He was clearly weaker than Shangguan Shenjua, but his soul aura was terrifyingly strong. Even though Shangguan Shenjua had a tiger face, he still showed a trace of panic. Die! Su Yi's lips curled into a cold smile. The instant he curled his lips, an earth-shattering fiery red light surged out. In a flash, countless icy blue crystals fell from Su Yi's body as he flashed a cold, icy blue light in the air. A large area of space suddenly froze. Lu Ruoxi's eyes lit up as she muttered, "So strong." Su-yi had also unleashed his absolute strength in front of Lu Ruoxi. His figure flashed through space. With a deep sonic boom, Su-yi's four figures instantly slashed at Shangguan Xinjue. Furious Dragon Slash. Violent Dragon Tornado Slash. Violent Dragon Overlord Slash. Su-yi's Violent Dragon three blades became extremely fast and violent. In midair, the fiery red blade transformed into a huge dragon and collided with Shangguan Xinjue like a hot knife through butter. This collision made people's hearts skip a beat as if they were about to stop. The ferocious white tiger phantom quickly flew through the air, and its monstrous killing intent directly split Shangguan Xinjue in half. Chi La. In midair, Su-yi was forced back more than 100 meters, leaving a faint white mark in the air. Su-yi's eyes lit up as he stared at the entrance of the illusory demonic mirage. Su-yi immediately shouted in his heart. He charged toward Lu Ruoxi and pulled her out of the illusory demonic mirage. When they were about to reach the entrance, Shangguan Xinjue blocked their way, and a voice suddenly exploded behind them. "Get back here!" Instantly, a murderous aura and a huge suction force pulled Su-yi back. Su-yi used all his strength and pushed Lu Ruoxi. "Lu Ruoxi, get out! Wait for me outside! Trust me!" Above the void, Lu Ruoxi's delicate body was unable to move due to the huge pushing force. She could only watch as Su-yi and Shangguan Xinjue continued to fight in the illusory demonic mirage's mystic realm. And without Su-yi, it was impossible for him to enter again. Gritting her teeth, Lu Ruoxi and Su-yi looked at each other and immediately flew out. Without Lu Ruoxi holding him back, Su-yi's eyes suddenly turned sharp in the illusory demonic mirage. Sensing Su-yi's murderous gaze, Shangguan Xinjue's eyes twitched, and his heart palpitated. "Do you really think I'm afraid of you? You still want to kill me? I've said that you will die." Heaven and earth shook, and the huge fog array was deep. Su-yi knew that the great demon mountain range had started to expel people. The spatial laws had changed. Facing Shangguan Xinjue's relentless pursuit, Su-yi's eyes flashed with a trace of fire. The divine bird phantom behind him suddenly soared into the sky. Its wings were like fire, and its eyes were like divine flames that could incinerate everything in the world. Facing the sudden appearance of the divine bird, the white tiger phantom and Shangguan Xinjue's eyes trembled. This is a phoenix?" Shangguan Xinjue's tiger eyes revealed a trace of fear. "GG! Let the flames burn all of you filth clean!" With a roar, the Emperor Sparrow let out a deafening sound that could pierce through clouds and crack rocks. The blazing space rippled continuously. The fog was completely evaporated by the high pressure, and Shangguan Xinjue frantically retreated. Wind and thunder accompanied the torrential flames, and Shangguan Xinjue was instantly surrounded by flames. His short roar also turned into ashes in the sonorous storm. Relying on the power of the Emperor Sparrow, Su-yi had the qualifications to compete with Shangguan Xinjue, whose strength was close to Yuan Zhong's. If Tyrant Si Santong and Yuqi Changfeng were also at Yuan Zhong's level or stronger, he would have to fight with his life. Panting heavily, the power of the Emperor Sparrow increased along with his cultivation. At the same time, the amount of Yuan Qi consumed was also extremely terrifying. Su-yi, who was standing on the same spot and staggering slightly, seemed to have detected a trace of soul fluctuation in front of him. A huge tiger covered in flames roared out. Roar! Its ferocious claws drew terrifying grooves in the air as it rapidly charged towards Su-yi. At that moment, Su-yi let out a long breath as he took out a demon pill from his robes. Immediately, a string of runes for a martial technique appeared in his mind, as if he was practicing it in front of his eyes. Chi La. The moment the huge tiger and Su-yi's figures clashed, Su-yi once again used the power of the Emperor Sparrow. He stretched out a long whip towards Shangguan Xinjue's chest. The incomparably vast, scattered flames were like a flaming dragon that completely attacked the white tiger. 2 claw marks were rapidly shot out in front of the white tiger. After that, the white tiger used the attack to bounce back. Shangguan Shenjue, who had transformed into his human form, was in an even more pathetic state. His entire body was charred black, and the open wounds on his body were bleeding. Looking at Su Yi, who was still in the illusory demonic mirage, Shangguan Shenjue's smile gradually widened, and it was filled with a dense and sinister aura. Go to hell, Su Yi. I will make sure that you will never be able to come out and become a fragment of space. Shangguan Shenjue laughed maniacally as he spat out large mouthfuls of blood. Clearly, after the collision with the power of the Emperor Sparrow, Shangguan Shenjue was also at the end of his rope. The unbridled joy brought about by killing Su Yi made Shangguan Shenjue's face contort rapidly. His hands were constantly waving as he caressed the demon pill in front of his chest. An ant will always be an ant. Go to hell. Shangguan Shenjue was still prepared to enjoy Su Yi's begging look. Buzz buzz. Suddenly, he felt the demon pill in his hand expanding continuously. His eyes started to turn blood-red as panic flashed across his eyes. A cold voice came from the illusory demonic mirage. Beast soul thunder, explode. In an instant, a spatial ripple was torn apart outside the illusory demonic mirage. A ferocious aura spread towards the sky. Boom! The demon pill's violent explosion resounded through the clouds. Everyone in the illusory demonic cave, who was rushing towards the great demon mountain range, stopped in their track. What happened over there? What a powerful attack! Did someone die? They had lasted until now, but they still died in the end. I don't know who is so unlucky. Several martial artists, who were flying in the sky, pointed and whispered among themselves. Their eyes were filled with astonishment. The blood moon in the sky was filled with a terrifying aura. The blooming blood mist illuminated the entire sky. Su Yi. A trace of panic flashed across Lu Ruashi's eyes as her slender legs trembled uncontrollably. However, when she thought of Su Yi's words before she left, Lu Ruashi still chose to calm down. A golden figure flashed over from afar. His aura was heavy, and Lu Ruashi looked over in surprise. Chapter 1829. What greeted her was a face she didn't want to see. Xue Honglu landed beside Lu Ruashi. What happened? Xie Honglu's face was devoid of any emotion as she frowned slightly. Looking at Lu Ruashi, Xue Honglu didn't ask any more questions and whispered, "The demon cave's spatial laws have changed. The great demon mountain range is expelling everyone. Let's go." Reluctantly, Lu Ruashi continued to look back at the resplendent blood flower in the sky. Her eyes glistened as her figure disappeared into the sky once again. Su Yi, who was in the elusive mirage, could clearly feel the spatial laws of the entire demon cave changing. He used the Origin Supreme technique, but it didn't help. Iron Soul? It's useless. The spatial laws of the demon cave are changing outside. Only by stopping outside can we leave. Su Yi sat down on the stone steps of the elusive mirage. His eyes were filled with disappointment. Su Yi had already sensed the connection between the demon cave and the outside world from Qi Jiuzhen. Therefore, he could still be expelled. However, the elusive mirage was different. The spatial laws were higher than the demon cave. It was difficult to enter and even harder to leave. Looking at the quiet elusive mirage, Su Yi's heart began to calm down. It's very safe to stay here, but it's too boring. Su Yi took out the demonic core pouch and found that his points had reached 2,150. Looking at the damaged demonic core pouch in his hand, Su Yi was furious. Damn it! The elusive mirage, which was bored to death and devoid of life, was abnormally creepy. Looking back at the elusive mirage, Su Yi suddenly thought of the demon subduing sex expert who couldn't move. I'll go in and tease him. Su Yi's mouth twitched. He calmed himself down and entered the elusive mirage again. Hey! Wake up! Su Yi looked at the treasure chest with a sinister smile like a little devil. The treasure chest, which was glowing peacefully, trembled and said in a trembling voice, "Why aren't you out yet? Don't bother me." The demon-subduing sex expert said helplessly. Su Yi shook his head and sighed. "I failed miserably at such an easy task. But your beast soul lightning is really useful." When he recalled how Shangguan Shenjua had turned into a rain of blood and scattered in the air, he felt a wave of bitterness in his heart. "What did you use to detonate it?" the expert from the demon-subduing sect asked, a savage look on his face. "Your Yao core." The experts of the demon-subduing sect felt as though their beloved cabbage had been taken away by someone else. Their hearts ached as they cursed Su Yi for being a wastrel. "That's my life's work. There were only 10 demon ancestor demon cores in total. Give it back." As she spoke, there were even faint sounds of sobbing. When Su Yi heard the look on the face of the demon-subduing sex expert, he could only imagine how heartbroken that shrewd man must be. All right. It's all mine now. You don't have to care about how I use it," Su Yi said with a smile. Actually, Su Yi was happy that he had exchanged a demon core for a demon core. He had even killed Shangguan Shenjua in an instant. After being expelled, Shangguan Shenjua would definitely be severely injured. At that time, he would have one less strong opponent in the second round. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Su Yi had still not used the demon-subduing sex move to kill Shangguan Shenjua. This was enough for him to vent his anger. "Huff. By the way, after the space outside stabilizes, how do I get out?" Su Yi's expression turned serious. Su Yi was worried that after the space outside had changed, he would not be able to get out and would be trapped here forever. "I'm not telling you." "Wastrel." The shrewd old man was still scolding him. After that, Su Yi could not be bothered to argue with him. He simply sat down cross-legged and calmed down to cultivate. Suddenly, a surge of energy from heaven and earth rushed into the space and enveloped Su Yi's surroundings. The experts from the demon-subduing sect in the treasure chest could feel the ancient aura emanating from Su Yi's body and could not help but shut their mouths. There were some fluctuations in the space. Divine light was dense, and the abundant aura was like an electric arc that spread and swept across. In the arena, the gloomy sky finally cleared up. There was a trace of silence and depression in the air. Thousands of pairs of eyes were staring at the huge beast head in the center. The old man standing beside the beast head had a cold and sharp expression, without any emotion. In the arena where the experts gathered, a terrifying aura collapsed the void. Everyone's face was filled with surprise and anticipation. On top of the beast's head, there were 2 huge pupils that were like glass marbles. The ferocious eyes reflected the rankings of the first round. The dominating C's 3 senses is really amazing. He actually has 2,500 points. Yes, Yuchi Chongfeng is not weak either. He has 2,100 points. Most of the warriors were also paying attention to the points of their own sex warriors and the points of the top 10. They never paid attention to those who were not in the top 10. The higher the points in the ranking, the more benefits these people would receive. Just refining the demonic cores was enough to raise their cultivation by a lot. Looking at the warriors flying out of the beast's mouth, the eyes of many of the sects were filled with joy. Looking at the situation, those who could make it out of the first round of Heavenly Wind were all strong enough to survive. Those who died would be directly sent to the treatment room. In other words, those who died in there were severely injured. Naturally, they would not have the advantage in the second round. As long as they could make it out alive, the warriors thought that it was already a victory. After all, no one would want to go to the treatment room of the demon-subduing sect to save people. At this time, the members of the Xinjian Gate and Bawang sect were all solemn. especially Merciless West and Impermanence Fairy, whose hands were clenched so tightly that they were turning purple. What is that kid doing? It's almost over, why isn't there a single point? Under the light of the beast eyes, everyone's points were clear. The top 10 were all taken by the top forces of the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 sea. Su Yi's name was still at the bottom, and there was no change at all. His points were also 0. On the side of Yutian Palace, Gyue, Long Pashan, and the rest were whispering to each other. Looking at the beast eyes, and then at Duanmu Xiaoman, Long Pashan said in a muffled voice, "Could it be that the kid was already beaten out?" Gyue said in a low voice, "Su Yi's name is not in the treatment room of the demon-subduing sect." "Oh right, did you notice the strange behavior of the demon-subduing sect just now?" Laughter and insults rang out from the side. "Ha ha! I told you, that pretty boy is trash. Relying on a woman, he even dared to strut around during the test. He showed his true colors the moment he went in. If he dares to go up in the second round, I'll be the first to beat him up. Trash. Yeah, 0. That's a new low. He was beaten out the moment he went in. I wonder who was so brave and righteous? The martial artists of the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 sea had long found Su Yi an eyesore. They knew that Su Yi's ranking was close to 0. Their mocking, insults, and disdain were endless. Calm. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 1830. Hearing those words, the Yutian Palace and Bawang sect members were enraged. Gyue and Long Pashan peeked at Duanmu Xiaoman and saw that she was fine, so they had no choice but to swallow their anger for the time being. However, in a corner, there was a short and small figure surrounded by sword chi that was incomparably sharp. His eyes swept across the elder of demon-subduing sect, Red Astral Leopard, and the others. The corner of his mouth twitched slightly. Suruga's face was pale. Suruga had seen the small movements between Red Astral Leopard and the elder. Of course, he knew that the demon-subduing sect was behind it. His silent, murderous aura made Situ Luyun, Bai Mingshan, and the others nervous. They were afraid that this strange old man would cause a commotion. The upper-level forces in the center had long forgotten about Su Yi. In their eyes, Su Yi was considered to have some skills, but he was still far from being able to enter their eyes. Bahai Long Eagle looked at the rankings on the list, and could not help but smile. He could not hide his excitement and said, "Congratulations, Brother Juahu and the Lord. San Tong is not talented, but he is first." The Divine Tiger sect was also overjoyed. The second place was not bad, and they were the only 2 in the entire continent. Shangguan Juahu ignored Bahai Long Eagle's hypocritical words and whispered to the elder of the Divine Tiger sect beside him to discuss the next round. Only the Holy Venerable looked serious. He said coldly, "Congratulations to the Sky Dragon sect. Congratulations, Divine Tiger sect." Sky Dragon sect had always been first, so it was okay to lose. However, losing to Shangguan Juahu made the Lord's face turn gloomy. Looking at the top 10 rankings, the Lord's face turned even uglier. He did not see Xiahong House and Lu Ruoshi's rankings. Then, he began to feel relieved. In the past, the best result of the Sacred Mountain was the top 20. It was good enough that Yuchi Chongfeng was third this time. However, the Lord began to worry when he did not see Xiahong House and Lu Ruoshi. Carefully sizing up Su Yi, who was at the bottom of the list, the Lord then turned his gaze to the calm Duanmu Xiaoman. He could not help but shake his head with a bitter smile. Goddess is always so calm no matter what. As for Su Yi, the one who was the happiest was the Holy Fire Elder. His beard curled up as he spoke coldly. "This kid got 0 points? Don't tell me you're up to something again?" Turning around, Holy Flame said sarcastically, "That's fine too. It's a waste for trash to participate in the Tianfeng ranking tournament." These words were clearly directed at the Duanmu Shaoman. His dim yellow eyes stared at the Duanmu Shaoman, who was like an ice beauty, and his words were sharp. Sacred Flame was still brooding over the fact that he had been trampled on by Duanmu Shaoman before the storm gathering. Holy Fire Elder, that's not right. After all, he is the one chosen by Goddess Duanmu from the Jutian Palace. How can he be such a trash? Bahai Long Eagle's sarcastic words made Elder Wang and the people from the Bawang sect look murderous. Yes, he might not be good in martial arts, but he might be good in other areas. Shangguan Juahu looked at Bahai Long Eagle and immediately understood. Duanmu Shaoman had ignored him and Bahai Long Eagle the moment she entered the arena. The two sect leaders were already very unhappy. Now that they had the chance, all kinds of malicious words came out. Even for someone as gentle as Gu Yu, he was already fuming. Just as he was about to roll up his sleeves, Duanmu Shaoman's beautiful face turned to him and said, "If the three of you have long tongues, you can cut them off yourselves." Instantly, an extremely strong pressure emanated from Duanmu Shaoman's body, causing the hearts of the three people from before to be filled with shock. High-energy aura that covered the sky and covered the earth surged out. Half of the arena seemed to have sunk into a snowstorm. If anyone dared to say another word, they would immediately be crushed into powder. The incident here also attracted the attention of the aristocratic families. Dugucheng and Yenmietian looked at each other and narrowed their eyes to feel the aura coming from Duanmu Xiaoman's body. The terrifying icy pressure spread through the world, causing the entire sky to tremble. I didn't expect that Heavenly Crane from the Jutian Palace wasn't the only one who was strong. This goddess is also very strong. Dugucheng's eyes flashed. Yenmietian, who was thinking to the side, had a dignified expression. He looked past the Long family and looked at Yi Yi. How did this woman's strength increase so quickly? Yi Yi's slender eyes were filled with shock. The ferocious aura coming from Duanmu Shaoman made them feel like they were being looked down upon and trampled. The three aristocratic families didn't look good. They all shifted their gazes to the center. Yenmietian, who was talking without thinking, had stopped talking nonsense. It seemed that they were very afraid of the Jutian Palace. The Jutian Palace was like a taboo topic among the aristocratic families. Old Yun, what's the goddess's cultivation level? Yenmietian looked at Yun Zhongli. Yun Zhongli, who was frivolous at the beginning, had a deep look in his eyes. His eyes darkened, and a murderous aura came out. Yenmietian, who was acting out of character, was speechless and shrugged awkwardly. Draconis, who was sitting in the center, suddenly stood up. He moved his throat and let out a dragon's roar that was as heavy as Mount Tai. The sound wave broke through the air, causing countless people to be shocked. Is the first round over? Or do you think there's no one in the Long family? Draconis's eyes shone brightly. His powerful aura was on par with Duanmu Xiaoman's aura. As the dragon's aura gradually approached, a terrifying golden energy spread out. The whole sky suddenly trembled. The entire noisy venue fell silent. Everyone's eyes were filled with fear. This was the absolute deterrence of strength. Duanmu Xiaoman's calm and indifferent face flashed a trace of fierceness. She stared straight at Draconis. The two looked at each other from afar as if they were confronting each other. Guiue's long eyebrows twitched slightly. He quietly moved closer and whispered, "Palace Master, Su Yi hasn't come out yet." His meaning couldn't be clearer. Duanmu Xiaoman's deep eyes moved. She took a deep look at Draconis and then withdrew her aura. As soon as her voice fell, the upstream forces, who were jubilant just a moment ago, turned pale. Facing the fierce Draconis, Tyrant Si Santong and Shangguan Juahu immediately changed their expressions. They kept apologizing. Draconis snorted and sat back in the center of his seat. What a great ability! This goddess should have been investigated in the past. Dugucheng whispered. Yenmietian's tiger-like pupils suddenly shrank. He said sternly, can't you cut the crap? After saying this, Yen Mietian gave Duguqing a look, indicating that the calm young man behind Draconis was casting a gloomy look. Duguqing frowned. The young man behind Draconis was young, but he had extraordinary soul energy. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Chapter 1831. So strong. Another genius has appeared in the Long family. Sister Goddess Su-yi will be fine. The Lord, who was standing opposite her, smiled gently and quietly came over to stop the fight. Although she did not know why Duanmu Xiaoman came, she did not want the fight between the families to start now. Duanmu Xiaoman's white robe fluttered, and she returned to her icy appearance. Prince Tyrant C is out! Prince Tyrant C is out! A cultivator shouted. Everyone's attention returned to the beast's mouth. After the group of ordinary cultivators came out, the Heavenly Wind Ranking Tournament's number 1, Tyrant C 3 senses, flew out of the beast's mouth with large strides. Father! The Tyrant C's 3 paths was as vigorous as a dragon and ferocious as a tiger. It flashed a long arc in the air, as if a huge dragon was sprinting out. Sky Dragon sex people were pleasantly surprised and quickly went up to greet Tyrant C San Tong. Tyrant C Long Eagle's eyes were filled with praise as he kept glancing at Divine Tiger Sect and Holy Mountain. Father, I still have a lot of monster cores to refine. I still have to prepare for the next round. Tyrant C San Tong's face was filled with pride. Tyrant C Long Eagle nodded and patted Tyrant C San Tong's shoulder, his eyes filled with excitement. Father has already prepared everything for you. We will go into seclusion in a while. Countless sex disciples had already been sent to the treatment room, and some had yet to come out. They all looked at Sky Dragon Sect with envy and jealousy. This time, it was Divine Tiger Sect and Holy Sage's turn to be embarrassed. At this time, Great Holy Sun is out. A golden overlord's aura flew out from the beast's mouth, like a rainbow soaring into the sky. Yuchi Chongfeng is out. The cultivators of the 6 continents and 3 continents and 1 sea were excited. When they saw Yuchi Chongfeng flying out in a slightly sorry state, everyone knew that the situation inside wasn't that easy. Comparing the two, Tyrant C San Tong and Yuchi Chongfeng's strength was still inferior. Bahai Santong faintly glanced at the somewhat flustered Yuchi Chongfeng, and the corners of his mouth raised into a smile. His complacent expression was not concealed. Great Holy Sun, how do you feel? The Holy Fire Elder asked with concern. Yuchi Chongfeng glanced at the Holy Sage who did not care about him at all. His narrow eyes were full of anger and jealousy. It's all right. He was even better than Xiehong House and Lu Ruoxi. He's better than Su-yi. This sentence was like a heavy hammer that smashed into the hearts of Duanmu Xiaoman and the Holy Sage. Both of them frowned at the same time, and their eyes turned cold. Yuchi Chongfeng was even more enraged. He snorted angrily and walked to an empty space at the side to begin healing. After a while, more and more people came out of the beast's mouth. The experts of the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 child were like parents who were waiting for their children. They raised their heads in anticipation, and their fiery gazes and intense discussions were stirred up. The members of the Sky Dragon Sect, Divine Tiger Sect, Sacred Mountain, and other top forces flew out one after another. At the same time, many members of the first-rate forces also came out. Within the beast's mouth, 2 more rays of golden light flashed and filled the air. Like golden longswords, they broke through the pervasive demonic aura. It's the 5th saint. And the 9th saint. The Holy Sage's bright eyes instantly glowed. When he saw the 2 familiar figures finally come out, his expression instantly relaxed. Everyone's gaze was fixed on the 2 people who were flying in the air. As soon as the saint and saintess, who were like a perfect match, appeared, they attracted everyone's attention. Xiahong House stood with his hands behind his back. His eyes were as cold as ice. Behind him, Lu Ruoxi's expression was similarly cold. She was like an ice lotus that bloomed in the cold winter. However, the difference between her and the former was that her complexion was slightly pale. Her moon-like eyes hid endless sorrow and thoughts. When one looked at her, one's heart would involuntarily clench. "Young man, the holy sage nodded slightly, and his expression softened. When the two of them arrived at the sacred mountain, Lu Ruoxi's eyes were like lightning. She quickly slid her twin sabers into her hands. The holy sage, who felt something was amiss, had a grave expression. He locked his gaze on Lu Ruoxi, whose face was pale and dotted with blood. "What are you doing?" Xiahong House did not speak to Lu Ruoxi along the way. When he turned around, he was also puzzled. "Yuqi Changfeng, you came out first." Lu Ruoxi's eyes were filled with golden light. The biting cold murderous intent made people's hearts tremble. Yuqi Changfeng slowly opened his eyes. His pupils were half an inch away from the sabers. He smiled evilly. "Why? Are you blaming me because your Su-Yi can't come out?" Su-Yi. Everyone's ears immediately perked up. Merciless West and Impermanence Fairy's heartstrings immediately tightened. They immediately shouted, "Ninth Saintess, what happened to Su-Yi?" On the Heavenly Palace's side, Duanmu Xiaoman's chest was also visibly sore. Gyue shouted, "Ninth Saintess, please tell us about Su-Yi's situation." Su-Yi, he. Lu Ruoxi's heart felt as if a heavy stone had been thrown into her heart when she recalled the look in Su-Yi's eyes when they parted and the violent blood cloud that broke the sky. Clear tears flowed from the corners of her eyes, and her hands trembled slightly. "Let me tell you. The Ninth Saintess and Su-Yi were in the same cave. I found them and wanted to punish them. What did I do wrong?" "Nonsense. You were the one who trapped us with the Sage Monarch realm." Lu Ruoxi's eyes were filled with fire as she said in a low voice. The moment she said this, the expressions of the people in the Xiahong house changed. "Then tell me what you were doing in there. Su-Yi and the sacred mountain are irreconcilable. Don't you want to kill him with your own hands?" Yuqi Changfeng played with the blade and flicked it lightly. The crisp sound shook everyone's eardrums. "Yuqi Changfeng, in order to snatch Su-Yi's treasure chest, you teamed up with Dominator C. Santas and Shangguanjuehu to kill Su-Yi. How dare you talk nonsense?" Lu Ruoxi was trembling with anger. How could a young and inexperienced person like her compete with Yuqi Changfeng's ruthlessness? Dominator C. Santas also stepped forward and said in a low voice, "I can prove it. I can prove that. Killing people is part of the rules of the game." "Treasure chests? Did we get it?" Lu Ruoxi's eyes were trembling, and her lips were pale. She pointed her blades at the two of them, and she was exhausted from running around. "Pfft!" Lu Ruoxi spat out a mouthful of blood. The Lord quickly supported her and said, "All right, let's go back and talk." The weak Lu Ruoxi looked at the Lord and said sadly, "Su-Yi is still in there." At this moment, Yutian Palace and Bawang sect had a rough idea of what was going on. It turned out that the upper-level forces were doing this. On the other hand, when the treasure chest was mentioned, Qi Dongjue and the red astral leopard from the demon-subduing sect's eyelids twitched, and their breathing became heavy. The treasure chest is the clue to enter the secret realm of the strong. Qi Dongjue whispered to Qi Dongjue, and the red astral leopard turned his head to the Long family. "We couldn't snatch it even with 3 forces, and Su-Yi's whereabouts are unknown. What if the Long family attacks us?" Chapter 1832. Phew! Qi Dongjue was also at his wits' end. He clenched his teeth and his old face became extremely nervous. Yuan Qi rose from his hands to protect his beating heart. When he looked at the beast's mouth, more people were coming out. It was a gloomy black-robed man. Yun Lingfeng, Sakura Asaka and the others had already come out and said anxiously, Did you see Su-yi? Situ Luyun was also very nervous. Her eyes fell on the travel-worn Yunling Feng. His deep eyes met with the people of Shenzhen Gate. Everyone's focus and attention was on Su-yi. No! Yun Lingfeng roared fiercely and covered his hands that seemed to have been branded with iron. He staggered back, and Bai Mingshan jogged behind him. Looking at the two's back, Gong Qi frowned and said, "It seems that he is also injured. TSK. He separated from us as soon as he went in. What does it have to do with us whether he is injured or not?" Sakura Asaka pouted. Yun Lingfeng was not popular in Shenzhen Gate. Now that he had become neither human nor ghost, it made people feel disgusted. This time, the Divine Sword Sect was one of the top 3 first-rate powers in the Central State. The Flowing Cloud River and Mu Yao had all obtained good result. They were even more arrogant towards Yun Lingfeng. On the other hand, Su-yi, who had always been carefree, gave them a great surprise. Ryugan River nodded and pointed at the beast's mouth. He said in a deep voice, "Look. More people are coming out." This time, the people who came out were all covered in blood. Their snow-white robes were stained with blood, but it still could not hide their graceful temperament. Every one of them had an indifferent expression, as if they were immortals who did not belong to the mortal world. "It's the people of Jutian Palace." Gue and Long Pasan heard the commotion and stopped staring at Xing Shan and the others. They only heard the leader, Jun Haotian, shout, "Bullshit! Yuchi Chongfeng, do you dare to say that you're not doing this for your own benefit?" The people of commanding Heavenly Palace heard the conversation clearly from inside the beast mouth passage. Jun Haotian's words made Yuchi Chongfeng's expression change slightly, but Dominator Si Santong, who was standing to the side, still looked calm and steady. Swish, swish. Seeing Yuchi Chongfeng being surrounded by people, Jun Haotian said with a bit of hostility in his eyes, "Most of your points were given to you by the disciples of Jutian Palace, right?" Without waiting for Yuchi Chongfeng to speak, Jun Haotian said to Tyrant Ocean Santong, "But I didn't expect that the Sky Dragon sect would also like to do such sneaky things." Everyone understood the gist of the matter. Sacred Flame's aura surged as he interrupted, "What's wrong? Are you blaming the heavens for your lack of strength? Brat, believe it or not, I'll tear your mouth apart." Jun Haotian raised his head and roared, "You can kill people, but don't force them into a desperate situation. Is it your job to make it so that people can't come up with anything?" Jun Haotian knew that Su-yi had gone to the demonic illusion cave, but Jun Haotian couldn't help but associate Shui Yun when he left and Su-yi, who had yet to return. This. Sacred Flame's eyes hid a hint of playfulness. He was at a loss for words and looked at Dominator Si Santong and Yuchi Chongfeng. "Enough. Su-yi has a treasure chest, so it's easy for him to become a target. If not for Santong and Chongfeng, there would be people chasing after him." Dominator Si Long Eagle waved his hand as if he didn't care at all. "Yeah. My Divine Tiger Sex Xinjua hasn't come out yet. Is Su-yi's life so precious?" Immediately, everyone nodded in agreement. Only then did they realize that Shangguan Xinjua hadn't come out yet. Shangguan Xinjua sneaked out to follow Su-yi after Dominator Si Santong and Yuchi Chongfeng entered the Great Demon's palace. Therefore, everyone thought that Shangguan Xinjua was still inside. "It's fine if you don't say it. Shangguan Xinjua is the most shameless." Jun Haotian was once again burning with anger. Buzz. At this moment, the beast's mouth began to flicker, and Shangguan Xinjua's points also changed to 1600 points at the last second. It changed. Shangguan Xinjua's points changed. Pushing through the crowd, the experts of the Divine Tiger sect rushed to the edge of the stands. Their eyes became sharp and murderous. Shangguan Xinjua's points changed at the last second. Someone must have killed Shangguan Xinjua. Who is it? Who killed my Xinjua? Shangguan Juehu, who had a calm expression a moment ago, had bloodshot eyes. This sudden change meant that the Divine Tiger sect had lost their absolute advantage in the fight for the upper echelons. 1,600 points also caused Shangguan Xinjua's second place to instantly fall to 8th place. Even Su Yi can be killed. Do you think that your Divine Tiger sect's people are more precious? Long Pashan's words were even sharper as he retorted. In an instant, the aura around the experts of the Divine Tiger sect swelled and exploded. What? Fight? Do you think I'm afraid of you? The 10 great elders of the Imperial Palace stood in front of them at the same time. Swords were drawn and bows were bent. Soaring auras pushed back and forth in the void. No one noticed that there was a low-pressure point behind them that was like the center of a storm. Duanmu Xiaoman's face was like snow. Her heavy moon eyes flashed with a trace of hellish coldness. Palace Lord Su Yi should still be there, Guiyue reminded in a low voice. His kind face was also filled with anger. Palace Lord, at the last second when we came out, a terrifying blood cloud appeared in the sky. It's really difficult to know Su Yi's situation. Jun Haotian was slightly ashamed. He lowered his head and did not speak anymore. Duanmu Xiaoman shook her robe and looked back at Draconis. She immediately sneered. This peerlessly beautiful glance caused everyone's heart to suddenly tremble. This bone-chilling smile gave people a kind of deep throbbing. She was beautiful to the extreme, and her sharp gaze could pierce through people at any time. Unexpectedly, Draconis did not have any reaction. He actually watched with interest as the crowd quarreled again. The aura of the youth behind him surged out. A faint golden light spread to his eyes. The strong killing intent was like an ancient giant beast that wanted to devour everything in the surroundings. He unconsciously took a step forward. Draconis's broad arm waved behind him, indicating that the youth should not make a move. An imperceptible fluctuation leaked out. Treasure chest? A secret realm for experts? I've really underestimated this Su Yi. The great aristocratic families here tacitly and quietly watched the changes in the situation on the battlefield. The Sword Master, Hall Venerable, and Heavenly Monarch looked at each other and shook their heads slightly, indicating that they should not get involved. Su Chen behind the Thunder Fire Temple, Su Wanner of the Ancient Cloud Immortal Sect, and Lan Xiaoyan of the Sky Sea City all had serious expressions. Under the veil, one could still see that Su Wanner's clear eyes were filled with fiery concern and impulse. Her small cherry lips were red without any lipstick and were tightly pursed. Brother Su Yi. A soft moan quickly attracted Yun Zhongli's dissatisfaction. Yun Zhongli's eyes shot out a ray of cold air. Su Wanner could not help but tremble and lower her head. Chapter 1833. Outside the arena, the oppressive atmosphere was as if a war was about to break out. The sovereigns of the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 sea all had solemn expressions on their faces after making arrangements for their participants. What made everyone curious was, who exactly was this Su Yi? His earth-shattering performance during the test had already caused countless people to exclaim in surprise. His highest score in the entire competition and his record of 0 points were even more shocking. This Su Yi had already become the focus of the Heavenly Wind ranking tournament after 2 consecutive incidents. The upper echelons were all in an uproar because of him, and the sovereigns of the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 sea had already begun to pay attention to this Su Yi. The name Su Yi was like a symbol, deeply engraving itself into everyone's hearts. Many young experts also imagined Su Yi as their opponent, wanting to see if he was a gigolo or a true expert. Boom! Outside the arena, a tiger's roar could be heard. Following that, the ferocious roar came to an abrupt stop, and a person covered in blood rushed into the arena. Who's there? Countless sounds of yuan qi gushing out could be heard, and everyone's sharp gazes shot towards the figure at the entrance. Blood filled the air, and a red ray of light shot into the arena. The divine tiger sex people had already rushed out. In the passageway, Shangguan Juahu stopped and opened his hands, sizing up the person who had just arrived. The person's face was as black as charcoal, and his beard and hair were scattered. A few patches of his scalp were as white as snow, and were filled with burn marks. A pair of bloodshot eyes were like that of a tiger fighting for its life, overbearing and murderous. His hands were tightly clenched, leaving only his undergarments in tatters. His exposed skin had been ripped open, and his flesh was badly mutilated. The blood flowing out caused everyone's eyes to tremble. The person in front of them looked as if he had been fished out from a pool of blood, and was extremely terrifying. Even though he was severely injured, everyone could still feel the bone-deep hatred and the murderous intent that would persist until the end. This was a kind of anger that would not rest until death. If an ordinary person had reached such a degree, they would have already collapsed to the ground. Like a mad lion, the man's gaze swept across the entire arena as he roared. "Sui! Get out here! I'll kill you! I will kill you!" His hoarse voice sounded as if his vocal cords had been melted by the flames as he continued to roar with rage. This kind of anger caused the hearts of everyone present to tremble. This kind of willpower was definitely not something a first-rate forces martial artist could possess. If he was at his peak, the person in front of him would definitely be an extremely powerful existence. Shenzhua! It's Shenzhua! Shangguan Juahu roared angrily. He quickly took off his robe and rushed forward to hug Shangguan Juahu. Shangguan Juahu's body trembled violently as he looked at his son's injuries. "Father!" Shangguan Shinjua spat out a mouthful of blood. Shangguan Juahu held Shangguan Shinjua in his arms, and his mental strength began to crumble. The veins on his 4 limbs bulged like long green worms, and his entire body went limp. Shangguan Juahu trembled as he examined Shangguan Shinjua's injuries. He immediately understood that Shangguan Shinjua's meridians and flesh had been severely damaged. Even his soul energy had been severely damaged. Not only did Heavenly Wind lose this round, it was also impossible for them to recover. "Shinjua, tell father what happened. Father will take revenge for you." Shangguan Juahu's eyes were fixed on his son's miserable body, and his face was filled with despair and pain. A heart-wrenching pain instantly spread throughout the entire arena. Everyone present was a martial artist, and they knew exactly how badly Shangguan Shinjua was injured. They could also understand how much Shangguan Juahu's pride had been crushed. "Sui!" Before he could finish his sentence, Shangguan Shinjua fainted from his injuries. Shangguan Shinjua's injuries are not ordinary. Yes, it seems like many of his meridians are broken, and all the bones in his body are broken. TSK, this is too tragic. Is this Su Yi's doing? Is he that powerful? Many martial artists were puzzled. They could feel that Su Yi was standing right in front of them, and their bodies could not help but tremble slightly. A soul-stirring chill and killing intent surged in everyone's hearts, and they all trembled. The entire arena was extremely quiet, and only the anxious and angry roars of Shangguan Juahu and the experts could be heard. Shangguan Juahu was constantly transferring his vitality to Shangguan Shinjua, and the sound of his vitality surging was especially ear-piercing. Looks like it was beaten out by Su Yi. Domineering Trinity could no longer remain calm, and his hands were clenched tightly. Yuchi Changfeng was leaning against the wall, and he recalled how he had tried to make things difficult for Su Yi and how he had chased after him. It was as if he was living in the palace of the King of Hell. Impossible, how could this be done by Su Yi? Yuchi Changfeng shook his head, and firmly refused to believe that it was done by Su Yi. Everyone who had come into contact with Su Yi began to feel a little guilty, especially the holy sons and holy daughters. Their throats were trembling, and they were terrified. Everyone was clear about Shangguan Shinjua's strength, and the injuries inside would be reduced. How many people could beat such a top-notch young expert to such a state? Yuchi Changfeng looked deeply at Tyrant Si Santong, as if he was asking, "Can you do it?" "Who?" The people from Xinjian Gate, Yutian Palace, and Bawang Sect were instantly excited, and they secretly cheered for Shangguan Xinjue. Lu Ruoxi and Duanmu Xiaoman relaxed at the same time, and both of them looked at the entrance of the beast. While they were cheering for Su Yi, they were also worried about why Su Yi hadn't come out yet. "Elder Dongjue, what are you thinking about?" The scarlet cosmic leopard, who was standing at the back, was completely listless as he looked at Qi Dongjue in a daze. "Shangguan Xinjue's injuries seemed to be caused by our sect's secret technique." The scarlet cosmic leopard was even more terrified as he turned to look at Draconis and whispered again, "Are you sure?" Qi Dongjue nodded heavily. The more he thought about it, the clearer it was. It was definitely the strongest martial technique in their sect's demon-subduing illusory manual, the Beast's Soul Lightning Technique. Qi Dongjue's eyes turned deep as he whispered, "Looks like Su Yi has already entered that place. That's good too. It saves us the trouble of finding the illusory mirage." "Yeah, the Long family won't find trouble with us anymore." The scarlet cosmic leopard smiled and nodded. The Long family was here for the legendary place of the demon-subduing sect, the illusory mirage. When we clean up the Great Demon Mountain Range, we want to see people alive or dead. We just want to take back the secret treasure of the demon-subduing sect. Qi Dongjue whispered. The scarlet cosmic leopard nodded heavily. At this moment, an even larger blood-striped white tiger appeared behind Shangguan Juehu, roaring at Duanmu Xiaoman and Lu Ruoxi. "Su Yi, if you live, I will die without a burial ground. If you die, I will turn your bones into ashes." Chapter 1834. A vicious atmosphere engulfed the entire place, causing everyone's hair to stand on end. In the silent venue, only the sound of the Divine Tiger Sect's experts treating Shangguan Xinjue's emergency treatment could be heard. TSK. TSK. Until now, everyone still couldn't believe that Su Yi was the one who did it. Shangguan Xinjue was able to injure a 6th-level Origin Emperor expert to the point of being half-crippled. Apart from being astonished, everyone present shook their heads and sighed softly. Su Yi had directly cut off the path of a top-notch genius to become a god. This was undoubtedly a calamity for the Divine Tiger Sect, a top-notch faction. Everyone kept quiet out of fear. The Bawang Sect's and Yutian Palace's expressions turned grave. At this critical juncture, no one could laugh. Suddenly, the demon-subduing sect's experts shouted, "Sect Master, return quickly! Young Sect Master can't hold on much longer." Shangguan Juehu's sharp aura fluctuated. His eyes were burning with rage as he said coldly, "Return, Pa." The white tiger's image suddenly disappeared in the venue's passageway. The few Divine Tiger Sect's experts also turned into streams of light and flew away. Looking at the afterimages in the sky, the experts present couldn't bear to see it. If it was really Su Yi's doing, then he could be said to be extremely daring or a bloody butcher. It would definitely leave a huge shadow in everyone's heart. It's hard to imagine. Is it Su Yi, that gigolo, who did it? Is this Su Yi really that strong? If I encounter him, do I really have to use my full strength? The sect master experts and young martial artists present were dumbfounded as though they were in a daze. They were all thinking about how they should face Su Yi if they encountered him again. Within the crowd, Qi Dongjue from the demon-subduing sect gave a signal to Qi Xingbao. The two of them slowly retreated to the back of the crowd. Their black eyes were filled with killing intent. Soon after, they disappeared like phantoms. Qi La. At the same time, the sound of ice freezing resounded from Jutian Palace's side. An overwhelming, terrifying aura circulated in the void. Countless cultivators trembled. This monstrous pressure actually caused their souls to tremble incessantly. These experts from the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 ocean were all top-notch experts at the Origin Ancestor and Origin Domain realm. Amidst the astonished gazes, Duanmu Xiaoman was the first to move. A light blue yuan qi beam shot out from her body, fiercely flying towards the mouth of the beast. The unstoppable gale made the Bawang sect and Jutian palace's people dizzy at the same time, their eyes wide open. As expected, you can't hold it in anymore. Holy Venerate and Holy Monarch Qi surged out, quickly suppressing Duanmu Xiaoman's soul pressure. At the same time, all the powerhouses present unleashed their auras and shot their gazes towards the center of the venue. Hold it right there. The old man from the demon subduing sect had a calm expression on his face, as he stretched out his iron claw-like hands to block the way. From his old eyes, he could still feel the fear he felt towards Duanmu Xiaoman from the bottom of his heart. Duanmu Xiaoman's soul pressure was like Mount Tai pressing down on the old man's body, crushing down on him from every angle. The old man's gaze darkened, his weathered face turning red, his lips covered in a layer of sparkling frost. The first battle of heavenly wind has ended. The demon subduing sect has begun to sweep the mountain range. Outsiders are not allowed to enter. The old man stubbornly repeated this sentence. Impudent! Duanmu Xiaoman's enraged eyes flashed with a cold light. In an instant, an earth-shattering shout resounded through the heavens and earth. Duanmu Xiaoman's crescent brows were like the moon in a cold palace. Her extremely ferocious aura shook the beast's mouth, causing countless tiny spiderweb-like cracks to form around it. So powerful! Merciless West and Impermanence Fairy looked at each other, their eyes filled with shock. A short shout, a simple roar, caused all the experts from the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 ocean to change their expressions. What a powerful aura! This kind of pressure. It's too terrifying. Bahai Long Eagle's gaze was heavy. At this time, an extremely thick layer of defensive yuan qi had formed in front of him, but he still could not suppress the shock in his heart. Thinking about how he had offended Duanmu Xiaoman and Su Yi, Bahai Long Eagle's tightly clenched fists were already covered in cold sweat. Puchi! A large mouthful of blood spurted out from the old man's mouth, and his body swayed, his shoulders trembling like a pendulum. His feet stomped heavily on the ground, and he looked at Duanmu Xiaoman with fear in his eyes. No. Yes. Enter. If I want to enter, do you think you can stop me? Duanmu Xiaoman's red lips parted slightly, looking down at the old man who was about to collapse. Her gentle voice was like a soft knife, cutting back and forth on the old man's body. It was disdain, disregard, and also meaningless. Duh. Her slender legs were untainted by even a speck of dust. Step by step, the fairy in the moon-white robe walked lightly towards the beast's mouth that was about to burst open. As she neared the beast's mouth, she raised her eyes slightly. At this time, many people had already gathered on the spectators' stand. The 5 great families stood at the edge of the spectators' stand, their eyes narrowed. Some of them had complicated expressions, while others looked like spectators. In the middle, Draconis's eyes shone brightly, and the majestic aura of the golden dragon shot out from the corner of his mouth towards Duanmu Xiaoman. The terrifying aura of the golden dragon was not fast, but it caused the entire space to tremble in an instant. Duanmu Xiaoman trembled, and her fingers slid down in an arc pring. The snow that filled the sky immediately rose up in front of him, and the fine ice crystals were like devouring fairies. After the golden dragon's aura of destruction descended, it entered the ice crystals. In an instant they lost their sense of direction and began to spin chaotically. The entire venue instantly became much more relaxed. Even so, some of the cultivators with insufficient cultivation had already turned pale, holding on to their chairs as they gasped for breath. Plop! At this time, the demon-subduing sect elder followed Duanmu Xiaoman's line of sight to look at Draconis, and realized that Draconis did not take any further action. Instantly, his vision turned black, and his long robe fluttered. His skinny body fell forward heavily, and he saw stars. He fainted, and blood spurted out from his mouth. Duanmu Xiaoman's eyelashes fluttered, and she stared at the demon-subduing sect elder who had fallen to the side. Then, she smiled coldly at Draconis. It was as if she was declaring her sovereignty. If this continued, Draconis or the entire Long family would end up like this. Gulp! The Saint Venerable's expression changed, and she shook her head helplessly under the Saint Ruler's aura. She suppressed the rising and falling of her chest and said softly, "Duanmu is still Duanmu. The show of the Heavenly Wind ranking tournament is about to begin." Following that, Duanmu Xiaoman's figure flashed, and she left a trail of snow behind her as she disappeared into the beast's mouth. A series of ice-blue illusions appeared, and 4 or 5 of them were connected. Her beautiful figure and curves caused the eyes of countless experts to tremble. Chapter 1835. The cold air and the whirlpool of the Golden Dragon's divine aura rapidly spread throughout the venue, and the rich energy of heaven and earth tore the space apart. "Father, that woman deserves to die." The young man behind Draconis looked serious, and his murderous aura erupted again. Draconis stood with his hands behind his back, his head held high, and his eyes overflowed with excitement. "Song the Brahma Dragon's celestial palace pursues the strongest. Without a strong enough enemy, how can you prove that you are standing at the peak of this continent?" Long Tsong's face changed, and the blood in his black and white eyes gradually faded, and a bright light flashed. "I understand." Long Tsong nodded. Draconis looked at the disappearing ice-blue shadow with interest, and said in a deep voice, "Tsong, I have a feeling that Su-Yi may be the strongest enemy in your life." Draconis didn't mention that Su-Yi was his strongest enemy in this battle. Hearing this, Long Tsong was a little excited, and his veins bulged as he growled, "Father, I don't put ants in my eyes." Draconis gently turned his head, and his eyes instantly became fierce, and an overwhelming terror spread through the void. A person who attracts everyone's attention is definitely not ordinary. An ant can even shake a tree. His eyes trembled, and no one noticed that hidden in Draconis's eyes there was a trace of undetectable fluctuation. Without a large number of martial artists, the Great Demon Mountain Range was particularly quiet. In the Demon Illusion Cave, the blood moon shone, and there was no one within 100 miles. The lonely wind blew up the sand on the ground, and a few silver-armored demonic minks patrolled the cracked ground. They rubbed their black and red noses on the ground, and in the distance there was a mysterious white mist. Looking up at the bloody mist in the sky, the silver-armored demonic minks' scales trembled slightly. There was a strange light in their small black eyes, and under the strong wind, the silver-armored demonic minks seemed to feel a trace of danger. Chirp! They blinked their fairy-like eyes, and slowly moved toward the building in the white mist. Bang! A violent sonic boom rang out, followed by a terrifying aura that caused ripples to spread out across the entire space. His absolute aura was like the raging waves of a raging sea. Once it was activated, it threw these silver-armored demonic minks heavily onto the ground. The hard shell protected the silver-armored devilish mink, but the changes in the spatial laws still made these little demonic beasts' hearts palpitate. Raising their small heads, they turned into a ball of lightning on the ground and quickly fled into the distance. Chi-La! The illusory demonic mirage in the white fog seemed both real and illusory. Looking from afar, it looked extremely unreal. He didn't seem to be affected by the huge attack just now. After passing through the white fog, the illusory demon mirage hidden in it became even more gloomy. Although the white jade stairs were spotless, the illusory demon mirage became even more gloomy. However, that desolate aura made people feel as if a basin of cold water had been poured over their hearts, causing them to tremble all over. At the top of the illusionary demonic mirage, what was different from the rest of the great demon mountain range was the rich and mysterious energy of heaven and earth. A green-robed figure had his eyes closed, and his hands were placed on his knees. His breathing was long and drawn out. A turbulent aura revolved around his body. Countless tiny light circles surged out from his glowing skin like mysterious runes. A few divine halos enveloped him, pushing the surrounding air away bit by bit. The powerful force was so great that one could hear the sound of wind and thunder. It was like the sound of a deity descending from the ancient times. In front of Su-yi, the demon-subduing treasure chest on the platform emitted a dazzling light, like an old man looking at the youth's secrets with curious eyes. What a strange young man! He actually possesses such formidable strength. Old man Fu Yao exclaimed inexplicably as he clicked his tongue in wonder. Su-yi, who had the aura of the Origin Supreme Technique and the demon-subduing illusory manual, was like a divine child. The divine halos enveloped him, making him look extremely mysterious. For a long time, Su-yi had relied on spirit liquids and pills to recover from his injuries. This time, the laws of the outside world had changed, and he couldn't go out. So, he could use them to recover from his internal injuries. Peering into his mind, the star-like profound entrances emitted a dense light. Under the nourishment of the Origin Supreme Technique, his flesh and blood became more abundant and powerful. Peepa! A weak explosive sound rang out, and Su-yi's aura also surged along with the changes in heaven and earth energy. Who? After an unknown day or half a day, Su-yi finally opened his eyes. His eyes were crystal clear, without any impurities, as if he had been reborn. His lustrous skin was like warm jade. After the tempering, Su-yi's skin had become even firmer. Under the illumination of the light, it shone brightly. Su-yi, who hadn't felt so comfortable in a long time, exclaimed in his heart. Sitting on the ground, his green robes fluttered like dust. Creak! Twisting his neck slightly, Su-yi stood up and stretched his body, exhaling a long breath of turbid air from his mouth. Hua! His heart sank. Su-yi, who was in high spirits, shot out a beam of light from his eyes. His aura passed through the top floor and bounced back. Su-yi frowned. The injuries on his body had already recovered, but the laws of space outside did not seem to have stopped. Clenching his hands tightly, Su-yi looked at the gas whirlpool in the great void divine ocean, which had been filled to the limit. In the deity ocean, 2 drops of extremely pure Xianling fire liquids were emitting a mysterious glow. Beside the second drop, a few tiny powders of the fire liquids were wrapped around each other, showing signs of fusing. Su-yi knew that this was the rhythm of the opening of the third profound entrance. Originally, the cultivation of the great void divine ocean was much more complicated and difficult than others. The extraordinarily large deity ocean gave Su-yi an extraordinary amount of vitality. At the same time, Su-yi's cultivation required more resources and time than others. With the addition of the restrictions of the profound entrance, Su-yi's path of cultivation was even more difficult. However, Su-yi was even more convinced that there was a reward for every effort. Along the way, the power of the Origin Supreme Technique was obvious. He was afraid that if he really cultivated this divine spiritual pulse, it would really be able to change his fate. It's time to start cultivating. Looking at the constantly surging space outside the window, Su-yi made up his mind to take the opportunity to cultivate. When he broke through previously, Su-yi knew that from the first profound entrance onwards, every profound entrance corresponded to a small level of cultivation. If he wanted to advance another level, he first needed the great void divine ocean to be filled with vitality. Only after it had expanded to a critical point Could he borrow a huge amount of energy to open the profound entrance? One profound entrance, one small level, one fire liquid. I haven't used this spiritual liquid yet. Su Yi's eyes were burning as he stared at the sparkling, fiery red liquid in his body. When he fought against Shangguan Xinjue, Su Yi did not even think of using the Xianling fire liquid. This was a trump card that he had specially prepared for the Heavenly Wind ranking tournament. Coupled with his new soul skill, he could guarantee a good ranking in the second round after increasing his cultivation. Chapter 1836. At the thought of this, Su Yi's eyes flickered as he sat down cross-legged again. Brat, your aura was so dense that it didn't seem like the aura of an Origin Emperor. Who are you? Su Yi raised his eyebrows. Since the demon-subduing treasure chest had pretended to be dead and ignored him, he had to pretend that he didn't hear anything. He took out the beast cores that he had plundered. Satisfaction filled his eyes. There were a total of 9 demon ancestor realm beast cores in a row in front of him. In addition to the Python beast core, there were 2 peak demon emperors and 1 peak demon ancestor realm beast core. The 13 beast cores exuded an ancient yet terrifying aura of beasts. His eyes flickered. If he could refine all of them, his strength would definitely improve by leaps and bounds. At that time, Shangguan Xinjue wouldn't be able to jump around in front of him. Long Tsang? Su Yi's eyes were filled with disdain. The demon-subduing old man looked at the expectant Su Yi and shouted angrily. You took my Yao core and practiced my cultivation method, yet you still refuse to talk to me? Is there anyone like you in this world? The demon-subduing old man's voice was filled with vicissitudes. He felt a headache coming on because of this strange young man. Su Yi continued to ignore the demon-subduing old man, but he was thinking about which beast core was the most important. Should he start with the demonic beast core or the peak demon ancestor realm beast core? Su Yi couldn't make up his mind. He picked up the peak demon ancestor realm beast core and examined it. The terrifying aura in his hand was like a devil's claw that dragged him into the beast core. His vision blurred, and he hurriedly circulated the Origin Supreme technique. Only then did his eyes clear up. What powerful energy! Su Yi muttered, unable to conceal the shock in his heart. Even with his bloodline and diamond body, it was undoubtedly suicide to swallow a demon ancestor realm beast core directly. If you want to kill yourself, then go ahead and eat my peak demon ancestor realm beast core. The demon-subduing old man sneered and shouted. Su Yi naturally wouldn't be stupid enough to swallow the beast core directly. He started to circulate the demon-subduing illusory manual. The runes that were filled with demonic aura started to circulate around Su Yi like a stampede of beasts. Roar! The terrifying roars of the demonic beasts reverberated unceasingly in the top floor. Gravel flew everywhere, and the soft curtains were directly shattered into pieces. If he opened his eyes, Su Yi would discover that the entire world seemed to have become a world of demonic beasts. Soaring demonic aura filled the air. The violent aura circulated around Su Yi's body rhythmically along the circulation path of the phantom tome of demon subduing. Ferocious demonic beast phantoms continuously appeared behind Su Yi's back, from the vicious red-scaled demonic beast to the glazed light-winged bird and the black revolving demonic jackal. All kinds of rare demonic beast phantoms overlapped with each other. Countless phantoms alternated back and forth. For the first time, Su Yi's aura reached its peak. Su Yi's heart was filled with shock as well. This demon-slaying illusory tome was actually a compilation of all the ancient demonic beasts that the experts of the demon-slaying sect had subdued over the past thousands of years. In his mind, every page of the demonic beast atlas was formed by a trace of a remnant soul and a drop of blood. Every single demonic beast's talent was perfectly preserved in the demon-slaying illusory tome. Although this demon-slaying illusory tome was not as profound and complex as the heavenly origin ancient scripture, it was still far from enough. However, the amount of information and remnant souls contained within had far exceeded Su Yi's imagination. With this demon-slaying illusory tome, he could form a blood contract with any demonic beast at any time, and use his yuan qi to form a form and summon them out. No wonder it had such miraculous uses like beast soul lightning and demonic core lightning. Only now did Su Yi understand that the core of the demon-slaying illusory tome lay in the word illusory and miraculous. Illusory techniques were unchangeable, and demonic beasts were rampant. With the demon-slaying illusory tome in hand, it was equivalent to having the remnant souls of hundreds of different demonic beasts. Using yuan qi to form illusions, one's battle techniques were equally varied and impossible to guard against. Miraculous techniques had endless uses for demonic beasts. The demon-slaying illusory tome had been refined and digested by hundreds of generations of experts of the demon-slaying sect. Their research on demonic beasts had already reached the point of nitpicking. From the blood essence of demonic beasts to their flesh and blood, remnant souls, and demonic cores, they had all been used to their greatest potential. This was the reason why the demon-slaying sect could rise so quickly. With such a technique, it's no wonder the demon-slaying sect can stand tall in the 6 continents and 3 seas. Su Yi muttered. Humans and demonic beasts were the 2 largest races in the heavenly barbarian continent. To be able to borrow the strength of demonic beasts for cultivation, one could say that they had an inexhaustible supply of resources. Closing his eyes tightly, Su Yi smiled faintly in his heart. This demon-slaying illusory tome and the heavenly yuan ancient scripture were simply a perfect match. Flipping through the pages of the demon-slaying illusory tome in his mind, Su Yi felt that it was more and more wondrous. When he flipped to the demonic cores section, there was a detailed description of how to use the illusory tome to rapidly convert the demonic cores into heaven and earth energy. With almost no restrictions, it would be able to preserve the energy of the demonic cores to the most perfect state for the cultivator's cultivation. Alright, let's start with the demonic cores section. Su Yi smiled faintly. Now that there were hundreds of remnant souls in his mind, he would study them one by one when he had the time. Carrying hundreds of demonic beasts with him at all times, Su Yi instantly felt as though he was being assisted by the gods. Time passed slowly, and Su Yi's aura became increasingly heavy. The light of the demon-slaying illusory tome was like vines, twining around Su Yi's limbs and meridians. On the high platform, the voice of the demon-slaying sect's expert began to tremble. The light flickered and his throat rolled continuously. How is this kid's comprehension so terrifying? He's self-studying the demon-slaying illusory tome? The demon-slaying illusory tome was a 1,000-year-old inheritance of the demon-slaying sect. Only the sect leader could inherit it. Apart from the requirement to cultivate it at the origin ancestor realm and above, it also had a harsh requirement on one's comprehension ability. But all of this was nothing to Su Yi. Under the tempering of the heavenly yuan ancient scripture, his soul power had already far surpassed his peers. His comprehension ability was even more so because of the origin supreme technique. Su Yi, who had quickly finished reading the chapter on the demonic beast cores, felt his heart clear. It's indeed mysterious. Although it's not as shocking as the heavenly yuan ancient scripture, to be able to use a human's wisdom to research the various uses of demonic beasts, this demon-slaying sect senior is already strong enough. Su Yi said in a low voice. With the heavenly yuan ancient scripture and the origin supreme technique as his foundation, Su Yi's cultivation of the illusory tome was a piece of cake. Who? With a clear understanding in his heart, Su Yi quickly kept all the demonic beast cores in front of him, leaving only the demonic beast core of a peak demon emperor in front of him. I'll refine this one first and see how it goes. Su Yi could not wait to start his cultivation plan. Purring! A clear sound rang out from the mysterious treasure box. Su-yi stared coldly at the treasure box and sneered in his heart. Kid, to be honest, we don't have any grudges between us, right? The corners of Su-yi's mouth curled upwards. He knew that this old man was up to no good again, so he remained silent. I've been in your embrace for so many days. Even a rock should have warmed up by now, right? The old man from the demon-slaying sect whispered. Chapter 1837. What are you trying to say? Su-yi raised an eyebrow. Kid, you're able to learn my demon-slaying treasure as an origin emperor. This must be a great opportunity for the demon-slaying sect. I'll help you refine the demonic core and tell you how to get out. How about you bring me out too? The expert from the demon-subduing sect probed with a tone of negotiation. His voice was somewhat humble. After knowing that Su-yi was able to cultivate the demon-slaying illusionary classic on his own, the expert had lost the initiative. Didn't you want to recover here? Su-yi asked coldly. Shaking his head, the demon-slaying sect expert said, I've changed my mind. It's too boring here. After the change in the space outside, the energy in this tunnel seems to be running low. So that's the reason. Su-yi laughed coldly in his heart. So that's the reason. There's no benefit in following me. Instead, you'll be tempered. Su-yi crossed his arms and said with interest, hoping that the old man would back off. The old man heard the signs of agreement in Huang Xiaolong's voice and said loudly, It's fine. It's been so long. Although you didn't open the seal on the treasure chest, I still felt something on your body. There's a place in your body that I can go to. From the aura that Su-yi exuded, the demon-slaying sect expert was even more certain that Su-yi's aura was more than 10 times thicker than the one in the tunnel. Damn, this brat is really smart. The iron soulfish woke up and cursed loudly. Su-yi's heart skipped a beat. His mysterious space could indeed hold people, but he was unwilling to do so. Not only did he have the iron soulfish, but he also had Ling Qianxue, Su Xiaoshui, and the blood jade ginseng. Although he didn't feel anything, Su-yi still felt uncomfortable. He wasn't the owner of an inn. How could he let anyone stay at his inn? Whoosh! Su-yi's heart instantly flashed with a murderous intent, and his blood began to boil. You seem to know a little too much, Su-yi said coldly. The light from the treasure chest flashed, and the demon-slaying sect expert said fearfully, Wait, we can talk terms. After pondering for a while, Su-yi withdrew his murderous aura and sized up the treasure chest coldly. How long will you be staying? Su-yi frowned. The expert from the demon-subduing sect immediately cowered. He lowered his voice and said, I don't know either. For humans and demonic beasts to recover their physical bodies, not only do they require a huge amount of heaven and earth energy, the items required are even harder than ascending to the heavens. Looking at the top floor, where the spiritual chi of heaven and earth was slightly insufficient, the expert sighed softly. It seemed that there was no hope of recovery. It was just that he didn't want to waste time in this illusory demonic mirage that lacked spirit chi. It's all that woman's fault. That day, I had no choice but to use the demon-slaying illusory tome to send my soul into the demon-slaying treasure chest. As he finished speaking, the expert from the demon-subduing sect felt his heart throbbing. It was hard to imagine how strong that woman was back then. Who? Recalling what the expert from the demon-subduing sect had said about the things that could restore one's body, Su-yi immediately recalled what Ling Qianxue had said about the things from the 3 seas. Nether flame grass, moon devour Bodhi goo, and glass sky fragrant stamen. He had already obtained 2 out of the 3, but he did not know where to find the last one. Unconsciously, Su-yi recited the names of the 3 items. What? An ear-piercing shriek erupted from the treasure chest. The voice was trembling, and just from the sound alone, one could hear the excitement in the expert's heart. He had been thinking about these 3 items for decades. How could he not be agitated when someone mentioned them? How did you know? Have you seen these 3 items before? The expert from the demon-subduing sect asked with a trembling voice. Sui immediately frowned. It wasn't a good thing to be targeted by this guy. Suddenly, an idea came to him and he said proudly, "That's right, I have both the nether flame grass and the moon devour Bodhi goo." Sui thought in his heart. He had a huge bunch of nether flame grass, which he had obtained from Ling Lanin. As for the 9 orifices returned to Sunleaf, he had obtained it because of Yun Jing. Now that it had been planted in the mysterious space, it was only a matter of time before he found the moon devour Bodhi goo. It was just that he didn't know where to start from. Little brother, Yu, can you help me find these 3 items? With a trembling voice, the expert from the demon-subduing sect choked and almost begged Sui. Sui smiled knowingly at the fact that a peak origin ancestor was begging him like this. That won't do. I'm looking for them for my wife. Are you more important than my wife? Sui raised his eyebrows. In his mind, Ling Qianxue was still refining the essence blood. It didn't matter if he took advantage of him verbally. Your wife? Then we can be brothers too. Sui snorted and said coldly, Who's your brother? I don't have a brother as smart as you. The mysterious treasure chest immediately glowed, and the expert from the demon-subduing sect seemed to be extremely nervous and anxious. Let's become sworn brothers. Let's become sworn brothers now. When I recover in the future, I will definitely lend you a hand. Little brother, let's become sworn brothers. As he spoke, the expert from the demon-subduing sect begged bitterly for 100 years, claiming that he was familiar with every place in the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 ocean. He was also familiar with the mountains, rivers, and plants, the essence of martial arts, and had extremely high standards. He wouldn't even bother with ordinary people begging him. Sure, we can become sworn brothers. We'll settle accounts clearly. Since you're staying at my place, you have to pay the rent, right? Suyi's lips curled into a sly smile. This expert from the demon-subduing sect definitely had a high status. He could definitely extort a huge sum of money from him. I've already given you my life's work. What else do you want? The expert from the demon-subduing sect wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He had already given everything he had to Sui. He had nothing left, and there was nothing he could do. Sui shook his head and put his hands behind his head. He pouted and said, What you give me and what I take are 2 different concepts. You. Facing Suyi's scoundrel and shrewdness, the expert from the demon-subduing sect lost his confidence and admitted defeat. Fine. Since you've cultivated the demon-subduing illusory manual, I'll give you the demon-subduing sect. Suyi's eyes widened in shock. He said disdainfully, Don't try to lie to me. You're just a remnant soul. How can you be the sect master of the demon-subduing sect? The expert from the demon-subduing sect was unhappy. As long as I, Qi Feihong, don't pass down the demon-subduing illusory manual, I'll be the sect master of the demon-subduing sect. When Sui heard this, he was inexplicably shocked. So this old man from the demon-subduing sect was the previous sect master of the demon-subduing sect, Qi Feihong. This sect master's words were rather domineering. But if he knew that the demon-subduing sect was already under the control of an old pervert and a young sect master, how would he feel? So you're the sect master of the demon-subduing sect. Your scarlet demon sect is under the control of the scarlet astral leopard. I'm afraid you don't know. T. If I had to choose, I wouldn't choose the scarlet astral leopard. That traitor was trying to curry favor with those in power. Who was the one who promoted him? Grand Elder Qi Dongjue. Sui said casually. Chapter 1838. These words infuriated Qi Feihong to the point his soul almost left his body, and he immediately cursed loudly. That pervert likes to be a lackey of the Long family. I wanted to expel him from the demon-subduing sect back then. He's still a supreme elder. The heavens are really blind, Qi Feihong said fiercely, his spittle flying everywhere. His voice was harsh and filled with bitter disappointment. Didn't you also become a vassal of the Long family back then? Su-yi sneered. Qi Feihong paused for a moment before he sighed heavily and said in a low voice, "My demon-subduing sect has a foundation of thousands of years. It wasn't easy for us to develop from a barren land like Yuzhou to become one of the top 10 powers in the world. Although we're at the bottom, we're still one of the strongest powers in the world." Qi Feihong's words were filled with extreme pride as he said softly, "However, I am naturally fond of rare treasures. I merely went along with the Long clan's actions and was never sincere. I only seek stability and not let the demon-subduing sect fall. But if it really comes down to principles, my demon-subduing sect will never be willing to be a lackey of others." Su-yi nodded heavily. Qi Feihong's words were like the words of a venerable master of a 1,000-year-old sect. From the fact that everyone had gone to chase after the Duanmu Qingtian and this old man had stayed behind to look for treasures alone, it could be seen that what he said was true. In his heart, he began to calculate the many benefits of incorporating the demon-subduing sect. His Bawang sect was at most the third strongest power in the Chaos region. Compared to the Sacred Mountain, it was a world of difference. With the addition of the demon-subduing sect, the Bawang sect would become a new power in the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 ocean in a very short time. And the Bawang sect would have a new base of operations. It was a wonderful choice. Becoming sworn brothers with a peak origin ancestor was not a loss for him. Qi Feihong's vision and methods were heaven-defying. He would definitely be able to help him grow rapidly. No matter how he looked at it, it was a gain for him. The more Su-yi thought about it, the more excited he became. His heart was already surging with emotions, but he still pretended to be calm. Su-yi coughed and pretended to be serious as he said, "The rent belongs to a peak faction." No matter how he thought about it, it was a good deal. "If I help you recover, what if you don't listen to me? You are at the peak of the origin ancestor stage." Qi Feihong pondered for a moment, then patted his chest and promised, "If I can really borrow your hand to return to the human world, I will be at my weakest right after I recover. If you think it's impossible, you can plant the eternal spider poison in me." The ancient spider poison was recorded in the demon-subduing illusory canon. It was extracted from the ancient azure flower spider's innate talent. It could be attached to one's palms and weapons, and could also be used as a restraining object to shoot into one's body. It was extremely poisonous, and only the caster could neutralize it. Those who were injected with the spider poison could only obey orders. Otherwise, the spider poison would enter their hearts, meridians, bones, and acupoints, turning them into fine powder. Their flesh and blood would turn into pus and they would die. This is much more convenient than the soul-devouring bone-burrowing pill. There's no need to make it, I can use it whenever I want. Su-yi immediately agreed. Let's begin. Inside the mysterious treasure chest, Qi Feihong could no longer hold back the desire in his heart. He pulled Su-yi aside and said a lot of things about swearing to be sworn brothers. After kneeling for a while, Su-yi also stood up and said seriously, "Uncle Hong, I originally had a few sworn brothers. You swearing to be sworn brothers with me without their consent, so you can only recognize me as your brother from now on. It has nothing to do with them." Qi Feihong was overjoyed and said, "Of course." Su-yi still did not have 100% trust in Qi Feihong. Without a guarantee, Su-yi would not let his big brother and the others know about Qi Feihong's existence. "Then can I move in?" Qi Feihong's voice was urgent. Su-yi could not help but roll his eyes. He was always worried about this old man. It was better to keep him for observation. Immediately, the mysterious space slowly opened. The chaotic energy of heaven and earth instantly turned into a hurricane and filled the air. The mighty sound of wind and thunder resounded in the space, and a cry of surprise came from inside the mysterious treasure chest. Chi Feihong turned into a ball of white flowing light and penetrated Su Yi's glabella. There seemed to be the sound of a sacrifice reverberating in the distance. The entire illusory demon-thatched building was covered in white light. A huge energy vortex spiraled between heaven and earth, making people tremble in fear for no reason. Whoosh! Chi Feihong rushed into the mysterious space in the blink of an eye. The remnant soul of Chi Feihong was illusory, but he still had a shrewd look on his face. It was exactly the same as what Su Yi saw in the domain bead. He floated back and forth in the space like a wandering soul, looking around. His mouth was full of exclamations and looking around. He said repeatedly, "Wonderful! Wonderful!" The heavenly river above his head and the stars rotated. The aura in the space was extremely shocking. Chi Feihong looked at the colorful divine clouds in the sky. They were like huge demonic beasts entrenched between heaven and earth, and a terrifying aura surged. The divine halo-like light enveloped heaven and earth. Chi Feihong's remnant soul trembled, and his eyes gradually became dull. Su Yi, who had not entered the mysterious space for a long time, was also a little surprised. He had always been concerned about his cultivation. He had never realized that the mysterious space had spread to such an extent. Brilliant flames lingered between heaven and earth, like divine fire falling from the 9 heavens. Brilliant and dazzling, divine chains intertwined and filled the entire void. It was like electric arcs resounding through the clouds. It was deafening and made people tremble in fear. Su Yi was subdued by the great pressure in front of him. His pitch-black pupils rippled continuously as he said, "You're a remnant soul. Be careful of the space. The 9 heavens lightning will scatter you." Chi Feihong, who was far away, came back to his senses and hurriedly floated to Su Yi's side. "Little brother, no, Su Yi, this is simply a rare treasure. No, it's the best treasure in the world." Chi Feihong spoke to Su Yi with exultation. He pulled Su Yi and pointed to the clouds in the sky. "Look, that's the immemorial divine beast white tiger. That's the black tortoise. That's the vermilion bird. That's the immemorial azure dragon." Following Chi Feihong's line of sight, it was indeed as he said. Between the floating clouds, one could clearly see that the 4 immemorial divine beasts were in the north, south, east, and west. That's the legendary divine beasts. In this world, even the great ancient demons are close to extinction. How can there still be immemorial divine beasts? Chi Feihong said loudly. His eyes were filled with shock and confusion as he looked at the sky. Su Yi's brows also unconsciously furrowed. Speaking of which, he knew nothing about this mysterious space. It just so happened that Chi Feihong had a deep foundation. It was a good opportunity for him to explain the origin of this mysterious space. "Look over there." Su Yi pointed to the small pool of spiritual liquid and said seriously. Chi Feihong turned into a stream of light and flew to the medicine field. As soon as he approached, he felt an incomparably majestic energy of heaven and earth rushing towards him. Suddenly Chi Feihong's illusory figure was pushed back by a gust of wind. Chapter 1839. After stabilizing himself, Chi Feihong's face turned red from the pressure of the terrifying aura. His eyes shone as he rubbed his palms. Above the northern pool, the crimson water heavenly crystal spun non-stop. Every cross-section was incomparably smooth, as if it was natural. This is the crimson water heavenly crystal? Chi Feihong could not hide the shock in his heart. Su Yi was not surprised by Qi Feihong's encyclopedic knowledge at all. He was very satisfied with Qi Feihong's words. Perhaps this previous sect leader of demon-subduing sect could really help him unravel many secrets. Su Yi, where did you get the water heavenly stone? Qi Feihong moved closer to Su Yi and asked. Su Yi briefly recounted the story. Qi Feihong nodded in realization, and immediately grinned from ear to ear. Oh, you're really lucky. The heavenly stone is a heavenly object. Do you know that the Sky Wind Martial Pavilion perished because of the gold heavenly stone of the 7 heavenly stones? Su Yi's interest was immediately piqued. The two found an empty space and sat down. Qi Feihong gestured with his hands, concisely recounting the birth of the Sky Wind Martial Pavilion and how it was annihilated by the joint efforts of the aristocratic families because of the gold heavenly stone to Su Yi. Until now, the whereabouts of the Sky Wind Divine Sword and the gold heavenly stone are unknown. The entire Sky Barbarian continent is searching for them. It has already been nearly 10,000 years. So, you brat, with this mysterious space and this heavenly stone, it looks like I made the right bet on you. Qi Feihong raised his head and laughed loudly, unable to contain his excitement. It was as if he could already foresee how he would look when he recovered his body and walked the world. Su Yi at the side fell into deep thought. He turned around and asked, back then, you guys pursued the Duanmu Qintian because of the gold heavenly stone too? Speaking of this topic, the laughter stopped abruptly. Qi Feihong did not comment and nodded. Qi Feihong didn't know if he was hesitating or thinking, but after a long while, he gritted his teeth and confirmed that there were no beauties around before whispering to Su Yi. After the destruction of the Tianfeng Martial Arts Pavilion, only the Tian Yao School and the 5 great aristocratic families remained in the Tianyan continent for 8,000 years. No one was able to find the whereabouts of the heaven-suppressing golden stone, so everything was peaceful. The Long family believed that the golden heavenly stone was in the Tian Yao School, so they used the power of the Holy Mountain and the Sky Dragon sect to destroy the Tian Yao School. The funny thing was that they didn't find it in the end. Buzz. When Su Yi heard this, his body began to tremble uncontrollably. Between his eyes, flames of anger began to burn. The tragedy of the Tian Yao School and the Spirit Ancient Village was still fresh in his mind. The sight of Grandma Shangguan dying in front of him made Su Yi's heart ache. So the main culprit is the Long family. Su Yi shouted in his heart. Then, Qi Feihong told Su Yi that this was the reason for the rise of the demon-subduing sect. As for us demon slayers, our ancestor was also a member of the expedition against the heavenly demons, but he was merely a pawn. However, our ancestor's talent was outstanding, and he comprehended the illusory manual of demon slayers from a remnant scroll of the heavenly demon sect. This is the origin of the demon-subduing sect. Therefore, the demon-subduing sect hates and fears the Long family. Qi Feihong's eyes flashed sharply. Everything about the demon-subduing sect could be said to have originated from the Tian Yao School. Naturally, they were well aware of the Long family's evil deeds and held a grudge against them. What they were afraid of was the Long family's absolute strength. It was enough for them to remain below the top forces. After listening to Qi Feihong's words, Su Yi leaned against the small pool of spirit liquid and fell into a daze. He was still thinking about the destruction of the Tian Yao School. To think that the demon-subduing gate is also an inheritance of the Sky Demon sect. Su Yi muttered to himself as the heavenly Tao reincarnation continued. The demon-subduing illusory tome had actually returned to the hands of the Sky Demon sect master. Qi Feihong looked at Su Yi, who seemed a little strange, and paused for a moment before continuing. More than 100 years ago, the name of the mighty crane was extremely famous. His name resounded throughout the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 ocean. His heaven-defying talent even crushed those from the aristocratic families who had participated in the Tianfeng ranking tournament. Thinking back to that year, Qi Feihong still slapped the table and praised Duanmu Qingtian's prestige and talent. His face was filled with fascination. However, Duanmu Qingtian's heaven-defying talent quickly attracted the envy of the aristocratic families. They all thought that he had found the heaven-suppressing metal stone, which was why he had such achievements. Naturally, Duanmu Qingtian became the third target to be killed after the Tian Yao school. After that, the various great sects searched the heavens and the earth, and secretly searched for him for dozens of years. Qi Feihong sighed endlessly. During that period of his youth, he'd wasted away pursuing and searching, yet he'd never discovered Duanmu Qingtian's whereabouts. 40 years ago, which was 20 years after the end of the previous Tianfeng ranking tournament, the Long family once again recruited our sections. They said that they had found Duanmu Qingtian's whereabouts. It was at that time that Qi Feihong obtained the domain pearl from the dead white flood dragon god's stomach. Qi Feihong had researched the domain pearl for more than 10 years. All of this was because of a heaven-suppressing metal stone? Su Yi's eyes were filled with confusion. Because of a heaven-suppressing metal stone, the Long family destroyed the Tianfeng Martial Pavilion, destroyed the Tian Yao School, and then chased after Duanmu Qingtian? Draconis, who has an extreme obsession with becoming stronger, is the most terrifying demon on this continent. He is simply unreasonable. Qi Feihong's voice trembled. When he mentioned this name, he was still filled with fear. Su Yi fell silent for a moment, then asked, "In the past 10 years, none of you have found Duanmu Qingtian?" Qi Feihong nodded heavily and said with certainty, "We searched every corner, but we still couldn't find him. I once thought that he was already dead." This answer completely matched up the previous and current event. Duanmu Xiaoman had also said, 40 years ago, when Su Kuanga was seriously injured, she delivered the flowing image stone to Duanmu Xiaoman in the imperial palace. Su Yi thought that Duanmu Qingtian must have been chased by an aristocratic family. After escaping, he was saved by Suruga and asked Suruga for help. Everything was gradually getting closer to the truth. Everything in Su Yi's mind was like a string of pearls that connected together. The blood sword fruit in Jutian Palace was also something that happened more than 20 years ago when Duanmu Qingtian sent the flowing image stone to the palace. This meant that when Duanmu Qingtian was being chased, there was a period of time when he was still in the Tianyan continent. And during that period of time, no one could find him. Where did he go? There was only one answer. The more Su Yi thought about it, the clearer his mind became. Unknowingly, his back was drenched in sweat. He went to a place outside the Tianyan continent. Maybe it's the place that I can't enter. Su Yi and the iron soulfish in the entrance shouted at the same time. The Origin Supreme technique attracted by the mysterious space had reached a level that was difficult to cultivate. Su Yi shook his head, then gritted his teeth. No matter how difficult it is, I have to find the other 3. No matter how difficult it is, I have to cultivate the divine profound spiritual meridians. When he thought about how the secret of the mysterious space could be solved if he persevered, Su Yi couldn't wait to go out and search. Chapter 1840. Su Yi's expression turned serious, and he couldn't help but take a step forward. He hurriedly asked, "Uncle Hong, has the demonic mirage never been activated before?" "Of course. I've told you before that it's easy to enter the demonic mirage from the outside, but it's extremely difficult to leave. Before that woman came, there were no signs of it being activated." Su Yi clapped his hands together and said to the iron soulfish in his mind, "Then there must be other passageways in the Tianyan continent." Buzz. Su Yi's mind suddenly exploded. Becoming sworn brothers with Qi Feihong had actually revealed so many truths. His hand kept reaching for the domain pearl in his chest, and an incomplete idea surged in Su Yi's mind. "What have you found out about the domain pearl?" Chi Feihong had had the domain pearl for more than 10 years. Chi Feihong was even more regretful as he recalled in a low voice. He had studied it for more than 10 years without any clues. Suddenly, one day, Chi Feihong decided to give up and brought the domain pearl back to the demonic mirage, which he regarded as a treasure vault. "That's when I met that terrifying woman," Chi Feihong lamented. The more Su-yi thought about it, the more confused he became. He simply stopped thinking about it. Everything could only be revealed if he defeated the Long family or found the Duanmu Qingtian. It seemed that the Long family was his next biggest target. Tian Yao School, Duanmu Qingtian, Duanmu Xiaoman, the Golden Dragon Legacy, Suruga's serious injuries. Each of these reasons was enough for Su-yi to fight to the death with the Long family. Phew! After exhaling a long breath, Su-yi's murderous aura was finally suppressed after a long while. Su-yi knew that if he met the Long family again, he might not be so calm. The sacred mountain has to be dealt with soon. Only by dealing with the sacred mountain will I have the strength to stand shoulder to shoulder with the Long family. All of a sudden, Su-yi was incomparably thankful that he had not killed the sect of demon subduing, and had instead become sworn brothers with Chi Feihong. Using the gate of demon subduing to soar into the heavens was the core of Su-yi's next plan. Looking at Chi Feihong from afar, he continued to size up the crimson heavenly crystal and the spirit liquid pools in the north and south. However, he was not very interested in the heavenly treasures in the middle of the herb field. Bang! The blood jade spirit ginseng came out of the medicine field. It was now the size of an adult. Narrowing its long and narrow eyes, the blood jade spirit ginseng looked at the shrewd old man with displeasure. "Brat, you haven't come in for a long time. Bring another human in? It's still a remnant soul." The blood jade spirit ginseng's whiskers fluttered as it looked at Su-yi. With this thought in mind, Su-yi no longer thought about those things. He said in a low voice, "Grandpa Ginseng, long time no see. You've improved again." 9th level Demon Void Stage Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng. Chi Feihong's eyes were about to fall to the ground. His mouth was agape and his face was filled with disbelief as he rushed over. The blood jade spirit ginseng's thick and long roots directly hit Chi Feihong's remnant soul, instantly causing a few specks of light to scatter. "What are you looking at? If you keep looking, I'll stew you." Su-yi hurriedly stopped him and acted as a peacemaker. He smiled and said, "Grandpa Ginseng, don't be angry. This is the housekeeper I invited. You'll be neighbors in the future, so don't quarrel." "Me?" Chi Feihong's old eyes shone brightly, but he was instantly glared back by Su-yi's hinting gaze. He said in a low voice, "Yes, I'm the housekeeper." The blood jade spirit ginseng grunted in acknowledgement. Su-yi said, "Uncle Hong is experienced and knowledgeable, so let him take care of this place. Grandpa Ginseng can just focus on transcending the tribulation at the Demon Emperor stage from now on." Hearing this, a Demon Void stage Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng was already the best in the world, and a Demon Emperor stage Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng was simply unimaginable. Being able to witness such a miracle, Chi Feihong was naturally happy. Of course. If Big Brother needs anything, I'll definitely help." "Ah." Chi Feihong's face was full of smiles. Raising his brows, the blood jade spirit ginseng lowered his voice and said, "I'll go take a look at Little Handsome. He's had a slight reaction recently." "He's going to wake up?" Su-yi cried out in joy. The blood jade spirit ginseng nodded and said in a low voice, "I'll give him some juice from my roots every day and mix it with spirit liquid to feed him. If there's still no reaction, this fat kid will have to be beaten." Su-yi nodded heavily. Thinking about how that greedy little bird had become a little fatty now, he still couldn't help but sigh. "Good. Now that Su-chun is also back, us brothers can reunite again." Recalling how the brothers fought the sacred flame together and how happy they were, Su-yi couldn't help but raise the corner of his mouth. After thinking about it, Su-yi decided not to tell Chi Fei-hong the real identity of Little Handsome. He would make a decision after confirming that Chi Fei-hong wasn't disloyal. After a brief chat, the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng went to the other side to take care of Little Handsome. Exhaling slightly, Su-yi returned to Chi Fei-hong, who was looking around, and said, "Uncle Hong, I'll leave this place to you in the future. You're experienced and knowledgeable. If there's anything you can take care of, just take care of it." For Chi Fei-hong, who had extremely high vision, this mysterious space could arouse his greatest interest. He had seen or owned most of the other treasures, so Su-yi wasn't afraid that he would have any ulterior motives. After all, he was just a remnant soul. Su-yi was also prepared to deal with him. After all, the heavenly lightning in the space had tortured the Green Emperor to death. "Su-yi, I'll leave the demon-subduing sect to you in the future. But I also have a request of you." After seeing Su-yi's biggest secret, Chi Fei-hong's attitude had changed slightly. Su-yi nodded and said, "Uncle Hong, please speak your mind." After hesitating for a moment, Chi Fei-hong looked at Su-yi seriously and said, "Don't be the second Duanmu Qintian. I'm not afraid of the Long family, but with the demon-subduing sect on my back, I can't do anything. You have to show off your abilities, but you can't expose yourself." Chi Fei-hong patted Su-yi's shoulder heavily. His palm slid past Su-yi's shoulder. Chi Fei-hong told Su-yi about his own matters earnestly. Su-yi naturally understood. The demon-subduing sect and the Tian Yao school were of the same origin. In the future, the demon-subduing sect and the Bawang sect's merger was inevitable. Su-yi naturally wouldn't mess around. "I understand. Uncle Hong, you've been looking for so long. Did you find anything in the spiritual liquid pool?" Chi Fei-hong closed his eyes tightly and flew back and forth around the spiritual liquid pool. Finally, he stopped in midair, parallel to the crimson water heaven crystal. "So there's only one spiritual liquid pool here?" Chi Fei-hong asked. Su-yi was a little puzzled. He immediately looked at Chi Fei-hong in a new light and replied, "That's right. The second spiritual liquid pool was formed after he refined the crimson water heaven crystal." "That's right," Chi Fei-hong said in a slightly louder voice after he received confirmation. Chi Fei-hong pointed to the four directions of north, south, east, and west, and said with an extremely hopeful expression, "2 small pools of spiritual liquid have already been formed here. I think there should be 2 more. They are in the east and west respectively." Chapter 1841. Chi Fei-hong narrowed his eyes and stroked his long beard. It was as if he was unveiling the secrets of fate. Gazing at Su-yi below, he said, "The 4 immemorial beast shadows are definitely not a coincidence. Su-yi, metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, and thunder. There are at least 4 heaven-suppressing stones that are closely related to this mysterious space of yours." Su-yi couldn't help but retreat. His heart was in turmoil as he exclaimed, 4 heaven-suppressing stones? Just the gold heaven-suppressing stone alone had caused a bloodbath in the heaven barbarians. The water heaven-suppressing stone had directly caused the collapse of the Li clan. How could these heaven-suppressing stones be so easy to obtain? Although he and the Iron Soulfish had guessed this before, it was simply inconceivable now that he thought about it. "Perhaps your space needs other things besides the heaven-suppressing stones. That's not something I know." Chi Fei-hong's old eyes flashed with anticipation. Su-yi held his chin and frowned slightly. He recalled the origin of this mysterious space. It had followed him from Earth all the way here. It had allowed him to escape death several times. After obtaining the crimson water heavenly crystal, Su-yi had experienced the most severe backlash. It was also from then on that the mysterious space had undergone another earth-shaking change. "Do you know where the other heaven-suppressing stones can be found?" Su Yi raised his head and looked at Qi Feihong, who was slowly landing on the ground. Qi Feihong's shadow slowly floated over from afar. Because it was nourished by the surging energy of heaven and earth, it was faintly glowing. Do you think the heaven-suppressing stones are glass beads that can be found everywhere? Qi Feihong said softly. Su Yi shrugged. He also knew that this was definitely a peerless treasure. Suddenly, Su Yi was a little perplexed about how he could solve the mystery of this mysterious space. Then, he pulled himself together and said, "Okay, I'm going to start refining the Yao core." With that, Su Yi pulled Qi Feihong out of the mysterious space. The top floor was dark and gloomy. Su Yi's primordial origin supreme technique circulated. Suddenly, an overwhelming amount of origin qi poured into Qi Feihong's body. In the next second, a halo of light rose around Qi Feihong's body. Looking at the changes around him, Qi Feihong's old eyes were filled with amazement. With a soft shout, a suction force appeared in Su Yi's hand, and the demon core of the demonized Peak Demon Emperor realm entered his hand. He turned his head and looked outside. The spatial rules were still changing. Su Yi sat down again. Qi Feihong circled around Su Yi like a ghost. He slowly closed his eyes and began to recite the Yaodong chapter of the demon subduing illusionary canon. Illusionary beings are born from the netherworld. Great success, the name of the pill. The best part was that it was extremely minute. Hong Chong and Nether Realm, Manager Xinguan. As for the Yao core, it goes down to the 100 meridians in the Sea of Qi. It coexists with the Qi of heaven and earth. It is born from the primordial beginning and condenses the three essences to form a clear jade seal. The 5 elements are metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. The 5-colored essence condenses into a Yao core. Mixed with all truths, the ultimate divine spirit. Su Yi's heart gradually entered a state of calmness. In the illusionary demonic mirage, the space began to fluctuate rapidly. The blazing fire attribute aura in his body grew stronger and stronger. Above the void, there was an invisible energy of heaven and earth that continuously wrapped the Yao core through the flames. At the same time, under the infusion of the invisible energy of heaven and earth, Su Yi's body trembled. After a long time, as Su Yi's aura grew stronger, the invisible energy of heaven and earth in the space of flames also became stronger. The Yao core was spinning at high speed in the flames. The surrounding terrifying flames directly attacked the Yao core of the Demon Emperor realm. The demonized outer shell of the Yao core kept peeling off and vibrating continuously in the extremely mysterious space ripples. Black fragments flew randomly in the space. Frowning, Su Yi could feel that the extremely high temperature in his body was mixing with the heavenly origin demon soul. He condensed his hand seals and tried his best to circulate his primordial qi to resist. However, he found that the terrifying flames were actually pouring into Su Yi's soul. Then, his soul began to tremble. Refining the Yao core was to use oneself as a furnace. In the rolling crimson flames, Su Yi's heavenly origin demon soul let out a soft cry and his hand seals changed strangely. Suddenly, the soul energy started to circulate wildly. Suddenly, circles of mysterious ciphertext patterns appeared. After an unknown period of time, a complete demonized Peak Demon Emperor demon core had turned into 10 drops of Yao core liquid. The tsunami-like flames gradually faded away in the time of quicksand. The Yao core liquid that was filled with divine light and hot aura directly poured into the space between Su Yi's eyebrows. Boom! In an instant, his soul was in severe pain and his mind was extremely dizzy. Su Yi could not help but cry out. "Hold on!" Qi Feihong shouted anxiously. This was Su Yi's first time refining the Yao core. It was not easy for him to be able to do it so perfectly. This kid's comprehension is amazing. It's just a demon emperor demon core. How can there be such a big reaction? What Qi Feihong did not know was that this demon emperor demon core had been contaminated by demonic qi. It was already comparable to a demon grandmaster demon core. Resisting the huge demonic beast energy, Su Yi seemed to see a huge demonic beast charging in front of him. A terrifying demonic blood qi and majestic soul energy spread out and wandered in his wide meridians. It was eating his flesh and blood crazily. I must refine it. Come on. Su Yi shouted in his heart. The Origin Supreme technique surged again. Suddenly, from the entrance of his meridians, a pure black primordial qi also surged upwards. The Yao core liquid was immediately decomposed by the black qi and turned into a huge amount of heaven and earth energy. It escaped along the path of the Origin Supreme technique and towards the Great Void Divine Sea. Rumble! Su Yi's aura rose rapidly. In the midst of the blazing primordial qi, the Great Void Divine Sea was like a bottomless whirlpool that was crazily devouring the majestic pure energy of the Yao core. Bam! After an unknown period of time, a thunderous sound overlapped with the crisp sound from Su Yi's entrance. The turbulent, illusory demonic mirage suddenly quietened down. All the shocking movements returned to calmness. Only Qi Feihong was left dumbfounded as he stared at Su Yi with his mouth agape. At this moment, Su Yi had already reached the new 6th level of the Origin Emperor realm. The top floor flashed with white light and a green-robed figure appeared clearly in midair. The surrounding space rippled faintly. It was so powerful that it made one's heart tremble for no reason. After a long while, Su Yi opened his eyes. Radiance shot out from his eyes as he clenched his fist. He smashed his fist into the space in front of him. Instantly, the blazing aura blasted a tiny dent on the sturdy platform in front of him. Following the punch, a spatial crack visible to the naked eye began to spread like lightning. Looking at this destructive attack, Su Yi smiled and used his inner vision to look inside himself. In the Great Void Divine Sea, there was not much primordial qi left. In the center of the whirlpool in the sea of vital energy, 3 drops of Xianling fire liquid were standing tall. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.